Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Chiefs Digest live Q&A here on YouTube, Facebook, and X Twitter, wherever you catch us. Sorry for the late notice, everyone. Yes, with practice going on at the facility and all the craziness and the busyness of the schedule today, I completely forgot to hit save and publish on the live stream. So this might be our lowest viewed live stream ever. But you know what? We're going to persevere. We're going to get through it. We will. Hey, if this is your first time or you're really annoyed at asking questions and then hearing my answers an hour and a half later because I'm too long-winded, this is the time to get your questions in. And Chris and Sharon are already on board, so we'll be able to get right into that. A few bits of news to talk about. Obviously, probably the biggest news of the week so far for the Chiefs is at least Hollywood Brown getting back into action. I know Felix Anudike-Uzomah landing on injured reserve. Also, a little bit of big news. Bad news for the Chiefs. Bad news for Felix. It's a tough break to see. That was if you watched the game, I think you saw the pain that Felix was in. Had a lot of questions about just, how does a hamstring injury end your season? Well, when it's a severe hamstring injury, it will absolutely do that. And, a lot of times in the NFL, you're talking about grade 1, grade 2 strains, and those can keep anybody out from 6, 12 weeks. I recently saw some stats about the fact that hamstring injuries are the ones that cause players to miss the most games. That's kind of ACLs are a little bit different. Those will definitely land people on injured reserve a little bit differently too. But hamstrings are bad. And, if you remember Byron Pringle, another K-Stater, missed his entire rookie year when he tore his hamstring in the playing final preseason. I think that was against the Bears, as a matter of fact, too. Missed that entire season because the hamstring injury and landed on injured reserve as well. So I think with the severity of the injury that you saw, I think that kind of explains that was going to be probably until late or maybe the entire season until Felix was going to be even cleared to get back onto the field. This is going to be a chance to get him to rehab as much as he needs, be able to come back. Hopefully next year in the final year of his rookie deal, and be able to come back and hopefully for him come back with a vengeance. I think you got to be rooting for him. He's a local kid. K-Stater, at least Summit. So you feel for Felix and his family. You wish that this has all worked out differently, but hopefully he's going to be able to come back at it next year. The return of Hollywood, good news for the Chiefs. Sounds like he will get a few snaps on Friday night against the Bears. He's been working this week with the first team, and he's been getting full team reps. I thought it looked a little bit like just a limited participant maybe on Monday. Looked like a bigger role on Tuesday. Chiefs don't have to say whether players are limited or full or non-participants. This time of year, we're not to the in-season injury reports yet. But it certainly looked like he had a bigger role and looked like he's been moving around comfortably out there. So that foot ankle issue that Hollywood had certainly looks like he is pushing behind him. From some of the other injuries, just maybe they have some small worries. The worst of them appears to be Jack Cochran, linebacker, with the knee bone bruise. That sounds like the one that might be, attempted to be able to keep him out the longest. Not significant, but, could it end up being something that lands him on injured reserve to start the season? It's possible. We'll see if there's any others. It doesn't sound like the issues for Mike Edwards with the hamstring, Nazi with the shoulder strain. Those don't appear to be significant. I don't think that either one of them will start on injured reserve. You never know. Things can absolutely they can get exacerbated, so we'll see. But so far, looks good there. It looks positive, at least as far as those guys getting back. Ethan Driscoll still out with the appendectomy. That is certainly a possibility for the non-football illness list for the season starting for Ethan there. Hope he gets back soon, but would not be surprised if it takes him several weeks, maybe even a month or so before he's back to full strength. Hopefully he starts feeling better and gets back out there soon. Noel Williams was back out of concussion protocol. Jake Breeningstool, who had been out almost all of training camp with the hamstring issue, was back this week, so he's been getting some work as well. It's positive to see. I'm trying to think if there's any other injuries that I feel like I'm missing another. Omar Norman Lott, there you go, defensive tackle with his ankle sprain. That one also is a little bit worrying to me because he's had the high ankle sprain since the beginning of training camp. He's been playing through it, pushing through it, tweaked it the other night in the Seattle game. So that one's a little bit of a concern. Once again, I don't get any indication that the Chiefs are worried about him starting on injured reserve, but with high ankle sprains, you never know. Another week to go before the beginning of the season and before they make that decision. So I don't get the sense right now that he's a candidate for injured reserve, but it's a high ankle sprains. Like I said, it's entirely possible, especially since he had that tweak the other night. So probably the best. I know we're getting some questions and I don't want to make people wait tonight. So we're going to get into it quick. If you got any questions, anything we haven't talked about, and you got questions about your favorite player, about the Chiefs, anything else that's going to be happening next week, if there's anybody that still has questions about injured reserve and why Felix is out for the season and how that works going to next week, fired up. I don't want to go into the the description of it if you don't need it. But we can certainly get into the logistics of how all that works and how the roster reduction will work next week if we need to. I always like for you to be able to control the conversation. And yeah, Luttrell, I'm sorry I harshed your mellow with the injury report, but hooray, it is Q&A day. So we are there. One more thing before we get started, though, I did want to mention our good friend Nick Jacobs will not be with us tonight. Nick's grandmother passed away over the weekend, and obviously he's been taking some time with his family. It's lost my grandmother, 20 years ago, and I'm still thinking of her every day. So my thoughts and prayers are with Nick and his family. The best to all of you. I know it's a very, very difficult time. I know all of you are going to be thinking of Nick as well. Hopefully we'll be able to get Nick back next week because we'll have a big show next week with the roster cut downs. But Nick, we love you and we are thinking of you, my brother. So thank you for all you do for me and for the show. And once again, thinking of you and your family during this difficult time, and rest in peace to your grandmother. We wish you the very best. So with that, we'll move on. Chris, first question up. In what game does Kingsley get benched and who will replace him at guard? Now, this is not me harshing any mellow. This is Chris being on the negative side here, being a little glass half full. Honestly, Chris, it was a conversation today with the coaches. Matt Nagy was kind of asked that question a little bit on the podium. It's been a discussion. I mean, what do you need to see from Kingsley at guard? Played 21 snaps so far in the preseason. He is going to get, I think, a little bit of an extended time. The starters should get a extended time on Friday night. Looks like the starters will probably play about a full quarter, maybe get 2 or 3 drives. We'll see if they have the football at the end of the first quarter, maybe play into the second. I don't know that you're going to see Simmons and Kingsley play beyond that with the second team line. So you're probably just looking out there with the first team. But so what's the standard? The Chiefs are certainly at this point giving all indication that they plan on moving forward with him at the starting spot for left guard. I mean, I see zero indication that there are any concerns about anybody else taking the starting snaps in week 1. So I think you're absolutely there. I mean, I don't think that the leash is that short. There's going to be a little bit of a leash. Now, how short? I mean, last year, obviously, it was 2 games before the Chiefs had to rethink things at that left tackle situation. It's really hard. I can't really say. I don't know. I mean, so far, the Chiefs aren't giving any indication that they're thinking like that they haven't have a philosophy saying, okay, this is how many mistakes that, we are maybe expecting, or at least, planning on Kingsley having, and that we're willing to tolerate this many mistakes. if they have a number in their mind, we haven't heard it. I mean, it hasn't been expressed. And I mean, you're not normally going to get an answer like that. But Chiefs continue to be very positive that they feel like that there's still a lot of upside and that they're not that concerned. I'm not saying that there's no concern, because there certainly is. I mean, there's a little bit of fingers crossing with Kingsley that he is going to be better in pass protection than he has been in the preseason. Run game, he's looked pretty solid. I mean, I know what the Pro Football Focus numbers are out there. I don't know that they're, to reality to me. I mean, it probably hasn't been as good as the run numbers suggest. He certainly hasn't been as bad as the pass protection numbers suggest. But there's no doubt. I mean, there's a difference, and he's looked, I think, a lot more aggressive in run blocking than he has looked in pass protection. That's still his weakness. I mean, I don't know, Chris. I mean, I mean, I could see. I'm not trying to be on the fence here. I mean, I could see Kingsley getting benched in the first 4 weeks of the season. I could also see him playing all 17 games. It's just going to depend on how quickly he really figures things out. And there's a few things that he needs to figure out. And you're not going to figure them out in practice. You're not going to figure them out in the training camp. You're only going to figure them out in games. And I'm not even sure you're going to figure them all out in preseason games. You're going to need real game action. So I don't know. I have a real hard time, projecting it. I mean, I don't know what the Chiefs' leash is. I don't know how far they're willing to let him go. Obviously, I think it's a shorter leash for Kingsley than it is for Josh Simmons. I imagine Josh Simmons doesn't have much of a leash at all. But are there a number of mistakes that if Kingsley makes that they're not going to tolerate? Andy Reid and Matt Nagy may have that number in their heads, but they're certainly not sharing it at this point. So it's my long-winded way, which I'm going to try not to be so long-winded tonight, Chris, of saying we really don't know. I don't know. Sharon, Colin Saunders to the Jags. Chiefs need D-line depth. Why didn't they pursue? I was a little surprised, Sharon, when I saw that Colin Saunders was being traded. My first thought was, okay, is he going back to Kansas City? And there, in some ways, Colin Saunders would be good for the Chiefs. I'm not certain that he's exactly the kind of depth that they need at defensive tackle. Saunders was much more of a bit more of a 3-tech, which, is like Nick will tell you. I mean, that's what Chris Jones plays. As big as Colin is, he was never really like the Mike Pennell kind of player who's going to be a run, defender, a stout player that you can kind of line up as a true nose tackle over the center. I mean, that wasn't really Colin's game. So I can see that the Chiefs, they need defensive tackle depth. You are 100% correct. But the biggest thing they need, I think they would be interested in potentially an edge rusher, but they need a defensive tackle that can play the run. They need more of a guy like Mike Pennell, maybe a younger guy too. And that's not even to say to replace Mike Pennell. That's an addition, because the Chiefs really, I mean, you got Fabian Lovett, and you've got Marlon Tuipulotu, who are both those kinds of players. But at this point, neither one of them have really earned and won and been consistent enough to claim the job. I think Marlon Tuipulotu is absolutely in the conversation for that last defensive line job right now. I think it's going to be either him or Malik Herring that is going to benefit from Felix Anudike-Uzomah and his injury. So one of those guys is going to get that spot. I think Marlon's going to get an extended look. Maybe Fabian will get an extended look as well. I would give right now a little bit of the advantage to Marlon, but then it's going to be a decision between Marlon and Malik. That's going to be tough. So but I also think that the Chiefs are looking outside. But like I said, Sharon, they're going to be looking for guys who are bigger, stronger, probably than Colin Saunders. So that's why they didn't maybe pursue it. Maybe cost was a little bit more than they wanted to. But it doesn't sound like the Chiefs were super interested. I don't necessarily that they had any talks with the Saints about it. But I would not be surprised if between now and next Tuesday or even Wednesday that the Chiefs were acquiring a defensive tackle. I just think it's going to be more of that, like I said, a true nose tackle, someone that's bigger, more of a run type defender than Colin was. Feathers to Fish. I think you're a newcomer. If you are, thank you very much for joining us. Any insight on Fulton's spot on the depth chart? I think to me, really the only question that I haven't really gotten a good grasp on is just simply whether would you call him the number 2 or the number 3. If the Chiefs have 3 corners on the field, those three corners are going to be McDuffie, Fulton, and Jalen Watson. I think those are clearly your top 3 right now. Najee competing in there, but obviously with the shoulder strain right now, he's not going to be in that conversation. Even when he gets back, I think that Jalen Watson is still a little bit ahead of him. So I think that those are the 3 that you would see on the field. Question is, when the Chiefs are in base, are you going to see McDuffie and Watson, McDuffie and Fulton? And I think the answer might be both. The Chiefs really at this point, because of just how little they've had Christian Fulton out on the field because of the injury and coming back from the knee surgery, I think there's a couple of parts to it. I mean, one, I think they will want to limit his snaps a little bit so that he's not necessarily a full-time 70 snaps a game player right off the bat. I think there's also going to be they're trying to figure out their rotations about who plays the best together, who kind of matches up well, who fits in the best into certain roles. And that's certainly even fitting in with some of the nickel and dime packages that they do. Are they better off with 2 corners and 4 safeties, 3 and 3, 4 corners and 2 safeties? I mean, these are things that they still have to figure out because of the injury to Fulton throughout camp, and honestly, a little bit of the inconsistencies that they've gotten from the cornerback play. I mean, that's another position that I would say that if the Chiefs acquired some more depth at the roster deadline next week, corner might be one of those possibilities. So I think there might be a little bit at the beginning of the season of a matchup. You could even see them rotating on drives. So it wouldn't surprise me, right now. I mean, we're still a little ways from Brazil and the game against the Chargers. It wouldn't surprise me if you saw Fulton and Watson splitting time at that number 2 corner spot. McDuffie's going to be your number 1 without a doubt. And like I said, if there's 3 corners on the field and McDuffie's playing the slot, it's going to be Fulton and Watson primarily on the field, at least at the beginning of the season. You could see other players mix in, like I said, when they're just trying to figure out what they've got. And you could see even times when maybe one of them is on the field with McDuffie and Shamari Connor is going to be in the slot. I mean, that'd be a little bit different than their base look. I mean, it might be a nickel look with Shamari, but it's Steve Spagnuolo and Dave Merritt. They're gonna test around and figure out what their best groups are, which group plays the best together, and I could certainly, like I said, see Fulton and Watson sharing that job a little bit, maybe matching up based on receivers, who they're facing that week, who they feel is a better matchup. The Chiefs have done that before too. So I think that's the best you can say about where they are, because we just really don't know enough yet about Fulton. Just doesn't have a bulk of work yet with this team to really see where he fully is on the depth chart, other than he's number 2 or number 3 at the corner spot. But really good question. Jesus, what second season players have you seen improvements? Really good question. And because I think about this a lot, and I want to pull up my roster list so I don't forget anybody. Because there's a lot of last year's draft class that I do like. So let's see here. My web browser a little slow. Sorry. Let's go with my second-year players. Of course, the first one that came up in the alphabetical was Matt Derrick, and he's technically a second-year player. He's definitely on my list. I definitely like Ariza. He's going to be better. He's going to be better punter this year than he was last year. Nico's kind of a second-year player. I don't know. I mean, Nico is Nico. I thought the improvement he showed last season, throughout the season. I mean, he is what he is, and I don't mean that in a bad way. It's just that Nico, he's 25. I feel like Nico is kind of fully developed. I mean, he's got some limitations, but he's reliable at what he does. And I mean, if the Chiefs go into the season with Nico as their punt returner, I think they're in fine shape. I mean, not the fastest guy, but he's going to safely, I think, give you the ball consistently in good position. And every once in a while, hey, he's going to break one. Is he going to go 90 yards? Maybe not, but I just trust Nico right now more in that punt return role than anybody else. And He's a hard worker. Like I said, I mean, I think Nico just is one of those max guys. He's maxing out what he's got. He's always learning. So I got nothing but good things to say about Nico. Jaden Hicks, I mean, I think it speaks really well for the Chiefs that Brian Cook and Shamorie Conner are still your top two safeties, and Jaden Hicks is just bearing down on him. If he's your third, if Jaden Hicks is your third safety, your safety group is really good. There might be some questions for the Chiefs, after that at 4 and 5, if they get some injuries at that receiver group. So that might be a bit of a challenge, but I really like Jaden Hicks. I mean, I think is just continuing to improve. Chris Roland Wallace, I mean, he's good enough that the Chiefs are, moving him to safety this year. And I think he has taken a really strong step forward this year. So Chris Roland Wallace will definitely be in that category for me. Xavier Worthy is going to have a good season. I mean, especially if this receiver group can stay together. I think Worthy is looking much more confident, comfortable, playing faster than he was a year ago. So, I mean, he might not have as good of a year as he did last year, because there were times last year that it was Xavier Worthy and nobody else on the field that could provide the Chiefs with any help at receiver. He was their lone option. If they stay healthy, they're going to have a lot of good players this year. And Rashee, whenever he's on the field, is going to be the top option. But I've been really impressed with Xavier. I think he has really stepped forward. That's probably amongst the second-year players. That's probably where I'm going to include Hunter Norzad in this conversation too, because even though he's not a starter, I've been really impressed with Hunter. He looks so much stronger than he was a year ago. I think if you had to go with Hunter Norzad in a pinch at center or guard, I think you'd be fine with what you're getting there. Still an ascending player, so I really like what I've seen there. Might be missing somebody, Jesus, but those are the second-year players that I'm fans of, and I like what they've done. Sharon, why was FAU playing in the fourth when Spag said he had a role in the team, presumably the 53? I mean, here's the thing. I mean, I had him on my team too, Sharon. I mean, I would have had him on the 53. He would have been the fifth defensive end. Math-wise, that's your third team. I mean, you obviously have a rotation, and guys get dinged up and everything, but and guys need work. So when you're a third team defensive end, being on the field in the fourth quarter in a preseason game isn't entirely out of line. So I understood why he was on the field. And especially if you want Felix to be maybe doing some things that he's not good at so he can get better. Felix has a specific skill set, and during the season he would be in a specific role, but in the preseason you're trying to get him more experience at doing some things. So it's a terrible break, but I mean, when you're in that position, like I said, you're the fifth defensive end, you're going to be on the third team, and third team's going to be playing in the second half and in the fourth quarter, and certainly at least rotating in. It was bad luck. Your guys, even some guys on the 53, they're going to be playing late in preseason games. It's just the numbers and the rotation. You're not going to have a team that's just out there with no rotation at all. So a little bit of a bad break there. Possibly a bad, I mean, nobody's necessarily blaming the turf or the weather or anything like that, but I can't imagine that wasn't a small factor. It's just incredibly bad luck. It could have happened to anybody. I feel bad that it happened to Felix, but I mean, the question is why he was on the field in the fourth quarter. I mean, he was on the third team, and that's where your third team's going to be playing. Ron the Ronster, when are you dropping your 53-man roster projection? My next one's going to be coming out tomorrow on Wednesday, probably Wednesday night is when that's going to be out. I'm not sure that I'll have a whole lot of changes. I mean, there'll be a change, obviously, because of Felix injury. There might be a few others, but there's going to be a lot of similarities. The roster projection that I currently have over at Chiefs Digest. So if you want to go check that out, and you can, there'll be a lot of similarities. I mean, I'm still going to have 3 running backs, 4 tight ends, 2 quarterbacks, 7 wide receivers. Still vacillating on 10 offensive linemen or not. Right now I've got 9. If I had a 10th, it would be Esapole. Defensive line, like I said, with the Felix is going to be mixed up a little bit. Once again, I'm going back and forth. I will probably have Malik Herring taking that spot, but Need to let's just look through some of the numbers and my notes from practice and from the preseason games, just kind of see where I feel like that it looks like the snaps have been going. Linebacker 6, I will keep 10 defensive backs. I am not sure if it's going to be 6-4, 5-5. I have it 5-5 right now, but the injuries at the cornerback spot, it's good news for Josh Williams. Josh Williams probably benefited a lot without necessarily playing a great game. I mean, Josh Williams is, to me, the 6th cornerback on this team right now. So if the team keeps 6 corners, he's on the 53. If they keep 5 and 5 safeties, then he's not. And I still think, when you're talking about players who are good trade candidates, I think Josh Williams is one of those. I think that there are some teams that would be interested in Josh Williams because he's got a lot of athleticism, great size. I mean, those are things that teams that look for, and there might be some systems for which Josh Williams is just a better fit than the Chiefs. So it wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing for Josh Williams if the Chiefs were to trade him, pick up draft assets, and even acquire another corner to be their 6th corner, just because they might, have a player that fits the system a little bit better or works a little bit differently or fills a different role that they need. So we'll see what happens, but that's a little, like I said, I don't think there's going to be maybe more than maybe 2 or 3 changes from my roster projection that I have out right now. I'll have one tomorrow, and then we'll do another one after the final preseason game. And the Chiefs have practice. My goodness, they have practice on Monday and Tuesday. They have practice on Tuesday during the roster cut down day. So that is going to be an interesting day to be around the facility. It's going to be, they did this last year too. It's going to be crazy. So Ron's second question was about Fulton. Has Fulton been running with the first team defense since returning? If so, has it been Fulton and Watson outside with McDuffie in the slot? Like I mentioned earlier, Fulton came back slowly. He actually, when he first started coming back, they had him doing even a little scout team. So he's moved up, progressing as he, did more and more work. They had him going from, scout team up to second team, then finally back with the ones. And right now, I mean, he is running with the ones. And like I said earlier, it's still a little bit of rotation. So that's why I think that there's a reasonable chance that starting this season, you'll see that Fulton just may not be up to a full workload yet. So maybe you have some specific packages for him, or, Fulton and Watson are sharing drives or, splitting time. Maybe it's simply matchups. You're going to have, Fulton and Watson on specific types of receivers. So I could see that changing up a little bit, just because I think at this point it's, getting Fulton up to full speed. If they feel like Fulton can play 70 snaps in week 1, that's probably the next question that I'm going to have for Steve Spagnuolo, and, just where he is workload wise. That I think is the big question to address, because I still think I think when everybody is fully healthy, the Chiefs are going to view Christian Fulton as their number 2 corner and Watson as their 3rd. They're both going to play a lot. But when Fulton and Watson are on the field together with McDuffie, and McDuffie is always going to be on the field, McDuffie will be in the slot in that situation. When McDuffie's outside, you're probably going to be seeing Chamari Connor or Chris Roland Wallace in the slot. More Connor than Chris Roland Wallace, but those would be your 3 guys that will primarily be in the slot. Jesus, did you feel like Simmons wanted to punch you after you asked about his tipping pass protection stance? I did not get that. I thought he handled it extremely well. I mean, he chuckled about it like he was expecting it. And I'm sure that, that since it had been a conversation, that, hey, with his stance that he had been kind of tipping plays a little bit, especially in week 1. I need to go back and watch the film to see how much better it was in week 2, but that's been a pretty big topic. And he acknowledged it. He acknowledged he's working on it, and he's trying to address that. So, no, I thought, like I said, Jesus, I thought Josh Simmons handled the question how it was intended, which I wasn't trying to be disrespectful or all. It was just, hey, this is what some people have noticed, and this is a conversation that's being had. Is it something that you're working on? And he acknowledged flat out that he's working on it. Andy Reid acknowledged that, they're working on it. So, I thought he handled it extremely well. And for a rookie, he handled it very, very well. So kudos to him. Ron is Omar Norman Lott's injury potentially related to the weight gain the organization had him do. Um, not, I doubt it, Ron. And Nick kind of talked about this a little bit because he got some good video of the injury when it happened. Because I believe it was the first day of training camp. It looked like he just got twisted up in the wrong place at the wrong time and turned that ankle because he was hit. So it was I think, if I'm not mistaken, I believe it was definitely contact that caused him to turn that ankle. So I don't think that it wasn't just like he was just running and had that. I mean, it was definitely someone hit him and then caused that ankle to turn. So no, I don't think that was the case. Hey, did the weight gain make it harder for him to push through it? Maybe, but he wanted to be out there. I mean, he was continuing to push through it. The team was okay with him trying to push through the injury because I think there's a little bit of wanting to have, I mean, there's a football mentality there of wanting him to have the attitude of trying to drive through pain and work through it. Should they have backed off of him? Probably 2020 hindsight, and maybe with a rookie, maybe they should have. Obviously, he got a lot of development time. You're hoping that he didn't tweak it too bad the other night. But no, I don't think it's related to the weight gain. I mean, he talked about the fact he's probably at about 10 or 15 pounds. Hopefully that's not an issue as far as the recovery and rehab either. But I think it was definitely the contact is what I would put it on. Casey Harold, it was good from hearing from Ariza. Have you seen him run or throw the ball? Just wondering if he is a threat in those areas for Tobe. I haven't seen Ariza like running sprints or anything, so I can't tell you what his 40 time is or how good he would look in situations like that. I mean, I've seen him just toss the football around and everything. And honestly, he looks like he's got a decent arm. Not necessarily maybe Tommy Townsend, because Townsend had a gun and his arms were pretty ripped. Now I haven't seen, Ariza, flex or anything like that. He seems like he always got like turtlenecks on and long sleeves. So I haven't seen the muscles if they're as big as Tommy Townsend's were. But I have seen him throw the football. I mean, like I said, it looks like he's got a fairly decent arm. So maybe they will pull that out one day. We'll see. But I also know that Rice is an athlete. I mean, you have seen it when he's gone down to cover kicks. He prides himself on that. I mean, he's a legitimate athlete as a kicker. He's not just a guy with a strong leg. I mean, he's an athlete. So I would not be surprised if, like I said, Tommy had a gun. So I don't know if he's going to be able to have that one, but I've seen him toss the football when they're doing drills and they're throwing the football back and from like if Harrison's kicking and he's shagging balls and everything. I mean, I've seen Matt's gun arm and it's good. I'm sorry, Robbie. I skipped ahead. I will come back to you though. KS 1567. Do you think Jalen Moore is a legitimate left guard candidate? Any sign Chiefs are considering him there? Jalen Moore's a legitimate left guard candidate. There's no doubt about that. I think it's difficult right now to evaluate whether the Chiefs view him as the first guy up or the second guy up at left guard if anything were to happen to Kingsley or the play isn't what they're looking for. Jalen Moore has very little experience at guard, so that would be the first consideration. And I think for that reason, that Mike Caliendo might very well be the first guy up if they needed a replacement at left guard. At the same time, I mean, Andy Heck has kind of described him as the super sub. I mean, they've talked about him in that Swiss Army knife kind of category that Jalen Moore can play 4 different positions. He hasn't. I want to say I feel like he's taken a snap or two at right guard when he's just been some rotation. He has taken a fair number of snaps at left guard, so it's not inconsiderable. And I think he's looked good. Nick has liked his work, and Nick thinks that Jalen could absolutely be a better maybe guard than he is a tackle. So there's definitely potential there. Chiefs are absolutely considering him. I can't tell you for sure. Like I said, I don't think there's really good indication yet who they view as their true backup tackle, if it would be Jalen Moore or if it would be Mike Caliendo. My guess is it would be Caliendo. There are some other reasons for that. I mean, obviously, if you have an injury at tackle, Jalen Moore is your backup there. So if you did have him take over at left guard and all of a sudden he moves to move the tackle, well, now you're adjusting two spots, and the Chiefs don't usually like to do that. So I think they'd rather be in a position that if something happened to Kingsley, Caliendo goes in. If something happens to one of your tackles, then Jalen Moore can come in and you're not moving two pieces of your offensive line. So that's how at least it would be normally. But to the question, yes, he is a legitimate left guard candidate. Even though he hasn't played there much, he is a legitimate candidate. Bobby, at this point, isn't the best case for Rashee. They agree to 6 games before the season. If it goes to the hearing, the judge likely wouldn't rule under 6, and the NFL would appeal that up, right? This is, you might get I'm going to try not to be too long-winded here, Bobby, but, and this just is to point out that the NFL personal conduct policy is just horribly written. It is just terrible. Because this process, which, I mean, it's only been used once before with the disciplinary officer hearing this. Normally, violations of the personal conduct policy are negotiated between the NFL and the NFLPA. And when I say the NFL, technically the NFL Management Council is what handles this. Now, like in the Deshaun Watson case, the NFL Management Council wanted a full season. The NFLPA did not agree with that. So that's why that went to the disciplinary officer. And oddly enough, I mean, Sue Robinson, who will be hearing this case as well, if it comes to that, ruled that, hey, Deshaun Watson violated all 3 parts of the personal conduct policy that the NFL alleged that he broke. But she also came back and said, a full season's not really required for this. So she said 6 games, and they eventually ended up settling on 11 after that. But here's the problem, is that after Sue Robinson's ruling, then whatever she determines are findings of fact is settled. That if she says that the player did or did not violate the policy, that's it. So, I mean, it's not going to happen. But if Sue Robinson said that Rashee Rice did not violate the personal conduct policy, there's no suspension. Now, if she says that, yes, hey, the NFL, hey, he did violate these portions of the conduct policy that they alleged he violated, then she's going to determine what she thinks that should be. And, she based her ruling on the Deshaun Watson case with 6 games, pretty much based on precedent, which was that the baseline for, that type of misconduct is 6 games. There's no baseline for, in the policy for what they're alleging that Rashee did as far as violating the personal conduct policy. So all she can really do is go off of what precedent has been before, what other players have gotten for similar cases. And honestly, I mean, the NFL is not going to have a very good leg to stand there. If the NFLPA lawyers handling this do their job, then there should be a pretty good ruling in Rashee Rice's favor. I've found from my going deep into the rabbit hole, there are some feelings and the theories that the NFLPA did not handle the Deshaun Watson case well. I think you're hoping that they do handle this better. And, there's no involvement from the Chiefs. This is all between the NFL Management Council and the NFLPA. That's both sides in this hearing with the disciplinary officer. Chiefs won't be involved. Rashee Rice's lawyers will work with, most likely, NFLPA, but the NFLPA is what is representing this. And the NFLPA believes there should be I've not been told what the NFLPA is requesting. It would not surprise me that if the NFLPA suggested that the suspension only be a game or 2, because that's what some similar cases have received for players who've been accused of violating the personal conduct policy in regards to speeding. Street racing is a little bit different, but there's been some other cases of that have not been dealt with as harshly as what the NFL is asking for. So, hey, if the NFL is asking for 10 games and Rashee Rice and the NFLPA want 2, I mean, are you going to settle on 6 games? Well, I mean, that's kind of essentially what happened in the Deshaun Watson case. Now, they got a little bit closer to the NFL between 6 and 17. I guess I got closer to the Deshaun Watson side. I apologize. It's between 6 and 17 games, it ended up being 11. So, halfway point in the favor of the player there. So, hey, if that's the case and they settle, and honestly, I mean, if you're Rashee Rice, do you take 6 games? I think the Chiefs would take that. Um, I there's a lot of moving pieces to this, Bobby, and I mean, I do think that I think there's a reasonable chance that it gets settled. I'm not sure that it gets settled by week 1. I think there's a possibility that this will go beyond week 1. Maybe it gets settled by week 2, but I think Rashee would like to play week 1. I think the Chiefs would like for him to play week 1. So there may not be an impetus to get this done. Now, once again, it's largely in the hands of the NFL and the NFLPA. So one side's going to have to move. And if they do not, then it's going to go to September 30th. And in case you hadn't seen this, I mean, when the Deshaun Watson ruling and the hearings were done, Sue Robinson's decision was issued 2 months after the hearing. So you're talking about maybe December 1st before you would have a ruling on the case. Could happen earlier, but at least the one other time that this happened, I mean, the ruling took 2 months. So your mileage may vary. Is the best case scenario that they agree on 6 games? Yes. I mean, does it have to happen before the season? I'm not sure. Like I said, I for reasons that I can't quite articulate because they haven't been articulated to me, I get the sense that the Chiefs and Rashee would like to play in week 1, that game in Brazil, and maybe that's simply it because it's a game in Brazil and it's a divisional game. In a harsh environment, and the Chiefs want their best players. And let's face it, the Chiefs' offense is going to be a lot better with Rashee Rice on the field without. So maybe that's legitimately it. Now, if you're going to say the case, well, why then they don't want him for the Ravens or the Eagles or anything of that nature? Divisional games are important, and Andy Reid believes that. So maybe that's all that there is. So, but I think there's a reasonable chance that it does get settled. I think it would certainly be in Rashee's best interest that it gets settled. But again, I mean, the NFLPA may not be in the mood to settle for anything like 6 games because they may feel like that they have got a good case, and that Sue Robinson will say, "Hey, you know what? This should be a 2-game suspension." And can the NFL then come back with 6 or 7 and seem reasonable? But that's the other part of this equation that completely and totally stinks, because after Sue Robinson decides whether or not the player violated the policy and issues the suspension, then the commissioner is the final judge of how many games the player gets. So Roger Goodell, if the NFL Management Council appeals the suspension, they appeal it to Roger Goodell. And now, and the way this ended up happening last time, of course, is that when the appeal was made, Roger Goodell then appointed the former Attorney General of New Jersey to argue the case for the NFL, so that he wasn't arguing and deciding the case. The policy gives the commissioner that opportunity to appoint someone else to argue the case and decide and make a recommendation on what the penalty should be. But again, Roger Goodell makes the final decision. So it's not exactly a completely fair process. It is weird, and it is a poorly written policy that hopefully the players in the next CBA or before then will force some changes to, because it's not great. But I'm sorry to go down the rabbit hole. I've already broken my rule about trying to be faster tonight. So I was not, Bobby. No, not your fault. You're the one that just asked a question that made me go down a rabbit hole. So I did it. I'm pulling out now. Lightning round, everybody. Nikki, hi, good to see you. Thank you for the greeting earlier. Any ideas who KC might try to bring in to replace FAU? Now, they signed Owen Carney, free agent, who was with them last year during training camp, played in a couple of preseason games, had 3 tackles. I actually liked Owen Carney last year. He's been around. I think he had spent a couple of seasons with the Bengals on their practice squad. So he's like 4th year in the NFL. I believe he was a 2022 undrafted free agent. Now, is he going to make the roster? Not necessarily. I mean, that would be a hard leap to make, but he could be maybe a practice squad candidate. But I liked Owen Carney. I thought there was some potential there. I think in the short term, Malik Herring is most likely to end up taking that position. And like I said, unless the Chiefs are looking, and are able to find some depth outside, and that would be, again, it's going to be difficult for them to get anybody on the waiver wire. But what they're going to be looking for over the next week is anybody that's going to be available. And they're making calls. They're certainly talking. Everybody in the front office is talking to their colleagues around the league about who they want. And edge rusher would be one of those categories. It's probably a little bit lower than some others because they're circling defensive tackle. I think the Chiefs are going to be interested in a running back, a certain type of running back. But I think that, let me say this: if the Chiefs keep 4 running backs, I think that 4th running back is not on the roster right now. So that's why I've got him keeping 3 on my most recent roster projection. But I think they're going to be looking for some depth at running back. But it'd be a speed back, a little bit more like Brashard Smith. If they could find a speedy 3rd down back that plays special teams, like I think they would have brought back Samaje Perine if they thought he was best suited for that role at this point in his career. But maybe a younger version of Samaje Perine and Jerick McKinnon, that's what they would like. Don't know that they can find that, but that's what they're going to be looking for there. As far as, like I said, looking for edge rushers outside the organization, I'm not real certain that it's a high priority. I think it's something that they would look at. Last year they also tried that. Didn't work out real well with the acquisitions they made at the beginning of the season. And they've had some trouble there. And, and that might be something that they do clear away from a little bit because I've been told that, the Chiefs haven't been real happy with some of their training camp and midseason acquisitions at defensive end because they just feel like Spags' system, it's too difficult for somebody to come in midseason. And Joshua Uche is probably the poster child for that. They feel like Uche was a good player, but it was just too difficult for him to come in and pick up everything that he needed to get on the field as much as they wanted. And that's why it didn't work out. So that's why defensive tackle is probably a bigger, push for them. If they get any more injuries along the defensive end, the defensive edge rusher, they'll probably be pushing for it. But at least right now they're happy with their first 4 guys. And hey, if Malik Herring is your 5th guy, Chiefs have been there before and they've been productive with that before. So I don't think they would be terribly upset about it. Brother Rick with the super chat. Thank you very much. And man, Brother Rick, you've asked $1 million question for me, because this is why if I am Rashee Rice and the Chiefs and maybe the NFLPA, the NFLPA is going to be much more concerned about the precedent, but what if Rashee Rice's suspension goes into the postseason? Because if you go to the hearing and you do not settle this suspension before the hearing, or even, technically after the hearing, if you could settle it in October before Sue Robinson issues her ruling if you want to. There's no rules on that. You can pretty much settle this. You could settle it right now if the NFL and the NFLPA could agree. But what if the worst case scenario happens? What if, and pull up my calendar here real quick, sorry. What if you do get in that situation that Sue Robinson here's the case on September 30th. Deshaun's took a couple of days. I don't know if Rashee's will take a couple of days or not. Maybe they can just squeeze it into one day, save you a couple of days there. If she takes 2 months and doesn't issue her ruling until December 1st, and then, it doesn't really matter at that point how many games that she's suggesting. If it's December 1st, that is going to be week 14. So if she gave you a 6-game suspension in week 14, that would take you into the postseason. Now, if one side's not happy with her ruling and the NFL appeals, or the player, NFLPA or the NFL appeals either side, then you extend this process. And I'm trying to remember, because my recollection is that I think it was the end of June was when Deshaun Watson's hearing was held. August 1st was when the hearing, or no, I think it's September 1st, if I'm not mistaken. I think that was when the ruling, I know it was 60 days after the hearing was when Sue Robinson issued her decision. So it must have been September 1st. And then they settled shortly thereafter. But once again, I mean, if she comes down with her ruling on December 1st, I mean, if you've got a 4 or 5 game suspension or more, it's going to go into the postseason, and it could very well be, into a situation where at maybe the best, Rashee Rice misses the rest of the regular season, and all of a sudden, I mean, he's just going to be on the sidelines for a month before going into the postseason. Wouldn't be great. So I feel like you've tapped into, Brother Rick, the worst case scenario, which is that, if the suspension is not resolved with a negotiated suspension and goes to the disciplinary officer, ruling doesn't get issued for 2 months, and then one side appeals, it's not going to be great. And Nikki with Super Chat following this up, and another great question. And this is exactly what the NFLPA is going to be using as examples, as precedent. How can Rashee Rice get more than Jordan Addison's DUIs? He got 1 game? And there have been other players who've received much shorter suspensions for at least vehicle incidents, accidents, DUIs, and I mean, don't get me wrong, Rashee Rice was an idiot for doing what he did, and he knows it. Chiefs know it. Everybody knows it. But I mean, personal opinion here, Jordan Addison, I thought was worse than what Rashee Rice did. Now, I may not think that Jordan Addison's punishment was appropriate. Maybe he should have gotten more time, but I can't see how that. I can't make the logical jump that, what Rashee did was 10 times worse than what Jordan Addison did. I just do not get that at all. So that's why I think the NFLPA has got a pretty good chance in this. They've got to put together a good case. I think they got a better hand, at least, than what they had with Deshaun Watson. So maybe they'll play their cards a little bit better. But no, I mean, I that's where I think the NFL is going to run into a lot of problems, because the precedents that are similar to what Rashee Rice did, they're not in the ballpark of 10 games. So I just don't get that either. Appreciate the question. I think you both made great points on that. So there you go. There's my pontification about the Rashee Rice situation and my going down the rabbit hole. Let me tell you, I mean, when I'm like reading legal notes, I've gone down a deep hole. But that's why sometimes you get the weird stuff that I know and find out about and everything. Hey, friend of the program, Brad Porter. Brad, great to hear from you, man. Always thought the final 2 to 3 roster spots come down to special teams. Anybody stand out so far? Yeah, and you're 100% right, Brad. I mean, it's going to be that way this year as always. I mean, your last few roster spots, there might be one. I mean, if you keep, if Esapole makes his team as the 10th offensive lineman, that's not going to be a guy that you're, really counting on for special teams. But he wouldn't necessarily be a game day, type player too. So if you're talking about less than even just like the last, 51, 52, and 53, but you're talking about who's 45, 46, 47, 48 that is going to be playing on special teams, and who are those last few spots. I mean, one of them is going to be a returner. It's got to be, because Rashard Smith, I have a lot of upside, love it, but he is scary on punts right now. I think he looks a lot more comfortable, and Dave Toub, asking about this today, Dave Toub gave a great explanation about how, frankly, kick returns easier. You get a lot more time to set up. There's less chaos. There's a lot, it's just an easier thing. And honestly, with 2 kick returners on the field now, it's even easier. So there's just less moving parts. Punt returner is harder, and Rashard Smith looks really comfortable at kick return. He's done it before. He has not done punt return for the most part, and still looks uncomfortable. He looks especially he looks really uncomfortable with anything inside the 10, and that's even scarier, because that's an area where you just cannot be mishandling the ball. So You need someone with experience. Who's got experience? Your two experienced punt returners on this team are Nico Remigio and Sky Moore. And then it probably comes down to who can contribute the most on offense from those two guys. I mean, right now, I get Sky. Sky has a little bit more of a complete, skill set, but right now he is in his head. And that short pass that he dropped on Friday night against Seattle was just just a heartbreaking case of that. He's got the yips. I mean, you can't count on Sky Moore to catch the ball right now. So I think Nico Remigio gets that spot. I mean, they're going that last wide receiver spot, that seventh spot, if they keep it, which I think they will absolutely be your returner. And I think it's Nico. And that's why, I mean, you got two guys that can return there. I think Sky, once again, I think I mentioned this earlier, one of my change of scenery guys. If you find a team that needs a kick returner, punt returner, Sky's valuable at that. I mean, he can do it. So if you can move on from Sky, give him a fresh start somewhere else, it could help his offensive game. I just don't think he's ever going to be able to develop into the receiver that he could be in KC, because he seems to be seeing things out there, and I feel for the kid because he is a good dude. He really is, and I would love for him to get a fresh start and maybe go on somewhere else and succeed, because I think that would be, honestly, I think it would be a great success story. So, but I think Nico's going to get that spot. I mean, if the Chiefs keep a fourth running back or they acquire a fourth running back, that's going to be a special teams player. And I mean, right now, they could keep a fourth running back, and maybe it's Carson Steele. It would be Carson Steele over Elijah Mitchell for special teams alone. So I think that's a possibility. Really interesting is Dave Tobe, and you saw the play on against the Seattle on Friday. Ashley Gelati is a really good special teams player. That's not normally a role for a defensive end, but he moves really well. He tackles obviously well. He's got speed, so he's going to play some. He's on the roster, but his value on special teams might cost somebody else a job, just because he's so good. And and corners and safeties are one of those things. Mike Edwards will be interesting because I had him on my last roster projection, and that was before the injury, because I had 5 and 5. I had Mike Edwards over Josh Williams. If Mike Edwards doesn't make the team, and Mike's a good special teams player too, Josh is a good special teams player. If he makes it, it's because of that. I don't think Cole Christian, linebacker's the other one. And a linebacker, I think Cam Jones is going to make this team. Jack Cochran, if healthy, will make this team. So there's two guys right there. Your other two linebackers, are Cole Christensen and Cooper McDonald. I don't think Cole will make the team. And I bring him up with the conversation with Mike Edwards because those would be two guys that you'd love to have on special teams from the practice squad, especially Mike with, Deion Bush going down for the season with his injury. If Mike Edwards was a safety that you could keep on the practice squad, elevate for special teams and safety when needed. Cole Christensen's a veteran. You can do the same thing with him, bring him up when needed. I think, and if I'm not mistaken, I think last year the Chiefs were able to bring him up enough that they reset his clock so they could bring him up a second set of 3 times and got him another year of towards his pension. So that's always good too. But both of those guys are incredibly valuable special teams players. Cooper McDonald might need to make this team because I don't think he clears waivers. So he's a guy that might make this team and if he does, it's because he can play linebacker, but it's also because he can play a lot of special teams. So those are my guys, Brad. Those are the ones that I think are fighting it for the most. Weston, you think Big Bob Tunyon tight end 3 at this point? Yeah. He is. He's going to be one of your tight ends. I think in the best case scenario, Jared Wiley makes the team as well. If he doesn't end up on IR just because he's not quite all the way back yet. And Breeningstool is also maybe in that category of maybe ending up on IR because of the hamstring and maybe not being all the way healthy yet. But Robert Tunyon is absolutely, without a doubt, tight end 3. And I think it's great because he's got the size and what the Chiefs need to give Travis Kelce a break. I mean, if you're going to have some 12 personnel with 2 tight ends on the field, in the past, it would have to be Travis and Noah Gray. Now, you could do that with Bob Tunyon, Robert Tunyon, and Noah Gray. And that's going to be critical to me to managing Travis's snap counts this year. Probably need to manage Robert Tunyon's because he's 9th-year veteran. He's been around for a while, but he's looked like the Robert Tunyon that had 500-yard seasons in Green Bay. I mean, he's looked that good. Can he give you a 300 or 400 year here? I mean, I think so. And like I said, I mean, if he can do that, backing up Travis Kelce, and let's say Travis Kelce gives you 700, 800 yards, I think he's capable of doing that in a more limited. I mean, if he's playing 65, 70% of the snaps, I still think Travis Kelce is possible of that. If Robert Tunyon's backing him up and gives you 300 or 400, you might get I mean, this would be my hot take, and I might, I'm thinking about this of doing maybe my 5 hottest takes for the Chiefs going into the season, just so I can be a little bit of a clickbaiter to get you all to read some things because I need to write more Chiefs Digest, but just get some fun stuff up. Then thinking about that, and one of my hot takes would absolutely be that I think that Travis Kelce and Robert Tunyon together can get 1,000 yards receiving. I mean, I legitimately think that. I mean, especially because there's going to be times you could put even both of them on the field at the same time. But Robert Tunyon is, I mean, the first tight end I think that the Chiefs have ever had that I think I feel like you can legitimately put on the field instead of Travis Kelce and not feel like you're just at an absolute disadvantage, that you've taken away a target from Patrick Mahomes. Is he as good as Travis Kelce? No, but he's experienced. He knows things. Most importantly, he's big. He's a big guy, and that's what you got to be. I mean, Noah Gray, 6'3", is one of the smaller tight ends out there. I mean, and no knock on him. He's good at what he does and in the role he plays, but you need bigger guys out there. Robert Tunyon is one of those. And obviously, all the quarterbacks on this team have fallen in love with Robert Tunyon because they know can throw the football to him at any time and he's going to catch it. All right. I said lightning round and then I completely ignored it. Jimmy's, what's the latest date we can wait before signing the Honey Badger out of retirement? If I'm not mistaken, because let me look it up. I didn't. Yeah, Tyron had another year on his contract. So the answer to that is you can't. Yeah, if he had another year on his contract, well, I'm fairly certain that Tyron did. His rights still belong to the Saints. So were Tyron Matthew, the Honey Badger, to come out of retirement, he is the property of the New Orleans Saints. So he would be back. I believe the contract would toll. I mean, if he came back this season, he would just be under the contract that he already had. I mean, that's the way I believe it works. But nope, he would still be the contract. He'd still be under the power of the Saints. So it's a way that they prevent players from being able to do that if they retire and then go to a different team. Can't pull that off. So no, he would be a property of the Saints. Yeah, you could trade for him, but not going to happen. But you will get to see the Honey Badger on YouTube on the broadcast from Brazil because he's going to be on the studio show. So I think that's pretty cool. KS1567 back again. Do you expect any free agent moves from the Chiefs like Zadarius Smith or Justin Simmons? I think there would actually potentially be some Justin Simmons interest, not at probably the value that he wants right now, is what I understand. Zadarius is probably a little bit different. I'm not sure that the Chiefs would have a ton of interest because I don't know if he's a great fit for what Spags and for what Joe Cullen want to do. And I mean, obviously he's getting up there a little bit in years too. I think once again, like I go back to that conversation we were having earlier about defensive ends and fitting into what Spags does after training camp and in season. I think it gets a little bit more difficult to fit in. I kind of like Justin Simmons is a possibility as long as he's willing to come in on a low salary, high incentive deal and be willing to be the fourth safety, because I mean, right now, I mean, the Chiefs, I think, would say Brian Cook and Chamari Connor and certainly Jaden Hicks are better. at least at this point in their careers, and they're more confident in. So like I said, low salary, high incentives. If you have to accept a smaller role, and I just don't know if that's what Justin Simmons wants. So, hey, I've been wrong before. Sometimes these things come about, and then all of a sudden they end up on the Chiefs. So you never know. I mean, the Chiefs are seemingly in the market for any free agent that's out there, and they certainly get connected to any free agent that's out there. Chris, what do you see as the weakest unit on the roster? I mean, I think it's a hard question, because I don't know that there's anyone that's really bad. I will say that, I mean, from a depth standpoint and my level of concern, and this level was kind of boosted up a notch by the Seattle game, I'm going to say defensive tackle, because I think we learned from Seattle that your best run defender, interior run defender, defensive tackle might be Chris Jones. I mean, it could be Mike Pennell, but I'm pretty sure it's Chris Jones. And that's no knock on Chris and no knock on Mike or anybody else. I mean, Chris is a good player. He's best defensive tackle in the league, in my opinion, still. But he's paid to get after the quarterback, and run defense is not necessarily a passion of his. And there's no backup behind Mike Pennell. Marlon Tuipulotu, and like I talked about earlier, Fabian Lovett, that's the backups as far as your one text, your nose tackle type players that could play alongside Chris and play along. I mean, they're going to try and shove Omar Norman Lott into that role, and it's not his premier role. I mean, they're kind of, trying to ask him to be a one tech this year, and then for the future kind of go back to a three tech to play like Chris and be Chris's backup, maybe the eventual replacement of Chris Jones. I mean, that would be the grooming scenario you're seeing right now. I just feel like defensive tackle is one injury away from being in real trouble. And so that's why I think they're certainly looking for a defensive tackle. With the injury to Omar Norman Lott, I mean, I think even just the depth across the board is really concerning there. So defensive tackle is the one I'm most concerned about. Corner might concern some people, and there could be some issues there. I just really like the top of that. I mean, if Trent McDuffie is your number one corner, you're going to be okay. I think Christian Fulton and Jalen Watson can be a good pair. I think Najee, when healthy, can be I mean, if you're asking him to be your solid number 4 corner, you're fine. Noel Williams looks like a guy who can really rotate in and play some physical football. So you hope he stays healthy. I'm not as bad on the corner unit. I still think there's more you can get out of it. I think it's a little top heavy, but I like the cornerback group a little bit better than most people do. But defensive tackle, final answer, Chris. That's the one that concerned me. Trey Live, overall in the league, where do you rank the Chiefs roster? This is one of those questions that, I mean, I know Nick would probably punt on, but he's actually knowledgeable enough to be able to answer this, because I'll be honest with you, Trey. I mean, to me, especially this time of year, when I don't know what all 53 rosters are going to look like, and I've been so focused on the Chiefs during the last month that there's probably some injuries around the league that I've missed out on, that I couldn't give you a reliable answer to say, hey, I think the Chiefs have a better roster than this one or that one. I mean, I can say from just a global standpoint, without getting into the nuts and bolts, I mean, I think you put the Chiefs up there with the Eagles. I think the Eagles are still in that ballpark, even though they've had some losses, but they seem to do a really good job of just reloading. I still keep waiting for the losses that the Bills take to take a toll, but they also seem to be doing a really good job of reloading and rebuilding. So I think you'd have to put them into that conversation. I don't think that the Bengals are in that. I mean, I personally think that the Ravens are a notch below. I mean, they're a really good team, and not far below. I mean, if you're talking about tier 1 and tier 2, I've got 3 teams right there in tier 1. I think they're probably overall the best 3 teams in the league. The Ravens might be in tier 2. It could be there all alone. Maybe I should just go ahead and bump them up into the tier 1. I just think they're a notch below those other 3 teams. But I mean, I think the Chiefs are right there. I mean, I still I mean, if you got one position settled, you're in really good shape. And the Chiefs are, I think, going to be. I think they're going to be better on the offensive line, even with the questions that you've got at left guard, and you might have some growing pains at left tackle. I think they're going to be better. If this wide receiver group can just hang together in any way whatsoever through injuries and health, this is going to be the best wide receiver group the Chiefs have had in, at least since Tyreek, and maybe even like 2019, 2020. It's a really good group if they can stay healthy. I honestly like their linebacker group. A little top heavy again, but I like the young depth. I mean, I think they've got some guys that can play eventually, and I think they got some backups that can help them. Defensive ends, I think, is better. It's better than it was a year ago. Your edge rushing is definitely better. I don't know if defensive tackle is better than it was a year ago, but edge rushers are definitely better than it was a year ago. Having Charles Omenihu back, you're hoping for a full season, but from the get-go, Ashton Gelati is an upgrade. So yeah, no, I like that. I mean, like I said, I like the secondary. I think this team is better in a lot of ways than they were a year ago. It just depends on how they play. If Mahomes plays better than he did a year ago because the offensive line's better and the receivers are better, this is going to be a better football team. Your mileage may vary. Tyler, what are you sensing on the current Jalen Royals injury, knee tendonitis? Is this something to be worried about? Are they just acting precautionary? Certainly precautionary, but concerned too. I mean, like I mentioned at the top of the show, what I've been told, what I've heard is that, that they feel like that this a couple of weeks rest this week and next week will be enough for that to settle down. They're not going to planning on pushing him too hard. They figure that he will be available for the Brazil game, so you'll be able to practice going into that week. So back on that Sunday, which I'm trying to think is at the 30th. So probably 10 days is what they're thinking would be enough rest for Royals to sit out and then be ready to come back. So nothing too serious. Now, I mean, obviously knee tendonitis can be a thing that flares up and causes more problems, but they're not too concerned about it right now. So no, it's not high on the. I'm not sending out a yellow alert or anything like this. This is just it's maybe just a small upgrade in defensive posture, and precautionary posture, but nothing serious at this point. Tyler, your second question. I didn't see a question mark there, but I read it, so I'm taking it. How many players do you expect on the Chiefs' final 53-man roster that are not currently on this roster? Ooh, great question. And final is always a iffy term because, hey, is it Tuesday's roster? Is it the week one roster when the Chiefs are going to start practice on Sunday for Brazil? Is that the roster? Because there's going to probably be changes between Tuesday and Sunday. But I mean, so if you're talking about, and let's just say that the week one roster when the Chiefs go to Brazil, I'm going to put the over under at. I'm going back and forth between 2.5 and 3.5. 3.5 might be too high. 2.5 might be the right number because I think there will be at least two. I think there will be a running back on this team and a defensive tackle on this team that are not currently on the roster. I don't think there's going to be any other changes at quarterback, receiver, offensive line. Corner would be the only other one that I think there's a possibility at. So I think there could be 3. I'd be really surprised if there's 4. So I'm going to put that over under at 2.5. I'm going to take the under and say 2. So, I think I'm going to go with that. Running back and defensive tackle. I think that those are the 2 spots that there will be that the Chiefs will go to Brazil with that are not currently on this team. Ronster, did you get the feeling after Matt Nagy's presser today that the Chiefs will carry 7 receivers? Hashtag Remigio Hive. Is there a Remigio Hive? If there is, I guess I'm a member. I'm team Nico. I mean, I got that a little bit from certainly from Matt, and I certainly got it from Dave Tobin on, and I asked Matt Nagy the converse of the conversation that we had with Dave Tobe, which is, when he talked about the fact that, uh, he told us basically that Tyquan Thornton's making the roster. So he's like, hey, Tyquan Thornton's making the team, so I got to find a role for him on special teams because he's the sixth receiver. He's got to play special teams. That it looks like, gunner is probably his most likely position. There's a few other places that they can put him, especially on like maybe coverage teams. I had some concerns. I wondered why that he hasn't been a returner at any point in his career going back to college, why he has not been a returner. We saw that against Seattle. Tyquan just doesn't turn direction. Just basically ran right into the tackle. So maybe he could do it pretty well. And Tyquan got a little defensive when I asked him, when was the last time he returned punts and kicks on a regular basis and training camp. He's like, I do it every day in practice. Well, I guess Ted catches him off the jugs machine during stretch period. So I'm not counting that, Tyquan. But yeah, I did ask the converse to Matt Nagy, which is, hey, are there times that you've got to find a role for a guy on offense because he's going to make this team for special teams, and now you got to figure out how to use him on game day? And like you've alluded to, his answer was like, yeah, it happens. And, and kind of talked about Nico a little bit in that regard, that you want to be able as a receiver, in that spot, you want to be able to not just put them out there for 3 or 4 snaps a game, but to have things that they can actually do for you. So yeah, I do. I certainly feel like from watching practice over the last couple of weeks, the Chiefs have had a concentrated effort on, putting Nico out there to learn some things that he can do for this team and packages on offense. Not that Sky hasn't been in the mix too, but it's been a concentrated mix on Nico. So I sincerely think one of those two guys, like I said, is going to be your 7th receiver as the kick returner, punt returner, and I think it's going to be Nico. I could be wrong, but that's my bet. Let's see. I do not know the username there, but have you heard of the Chiefs are doing the franchise this year and when the first episode may drop? They are doing the franchise. I have heard when the first episode is dropping. I do not remember what it is. Because if I'm not mistaken, I think they're dropping it at the beginning of the season, and they're also trying to avoid the kingdom a little bit. Let me see if I can't pull it up for you real quick, because if I got really deep into it, I can even tell you, Chiefs have like 20 events that are going on this month as their season-long kickoff kind of thing. Let's see. Here we go. I can tell you that. I can tell you, who knows what else I can tell you? The franchise, August 29th is when it debuts on YouTube. So, yes, the franchise will be back. Season 6 is what they tell me. So, let's see, what's today is the 19th. I guess I guess was today the fantasy football draft with Field Yates. I got a lot of promotions on that. Saw a lot of that on social media. So the game on obviously on Friday, and next week you got the Cincinnati Nebraska game, and then 29th the franchise. Get the Red Friday flag sales on the 5th. So yeah, a lot of things going on, but there you go. Franchise, August 29th. Brian. Yes, the 2 new players that the Chiefs signed on Monday. Signed Owen Carney, yes, defensive end. Like I mentioned, played, I believe, for the Bengals for 22 and 23. Was with the Chiefs last year during training camp. Played a couple of games, had 3 tackles. Like I said, I liked him. I thought he showed some potential. Didn't keep him around on the practice squad, didn't have a spot for him, but needing some numbers this year, brought him back. He's only been out there now for really, he was kind of going through drills yesterday. I'm not even sure if he got in a lot today. If he did, it was on scout team because they were purely scout team today for the first team in offense and defense. So not a lot to be able to tell from how he looks this year, but I liked him enough last year that, hey, if the Chiefs need some depth on the practice squad, I wouldn't mind him. I mean, he seems, like I said, I thought there was some talent a year ago. The linebacker Xander Mueller. I tell you what, I've been so crazy. I think yesterday I pronounced it Xander. I don't know how you come up with that, but Xander Mueller, linebacker from Northwestern. He was a 2025 undrafted free agent. Picked up a lot of tackles. He was a tackling machine at Northwestern. He had over 100 tackles one season. Interesting piece there. I mean, again, I think it's good. Certainly not much of a chance to win a 53 spot, but if you're talking about a practice squad position, Chiefs, hey, they know how to find young linebackers and develop them. So if there's a spot, might be able to work his way in there. But he was a very productive player at Northwestern. I mean, it wasn't just tackles. He had a few sacks, a lot of tackles for loss as well. I mean, he had forced fumbles. I think he had 6 interceptions and like 9 passes defended, which yeah, decent numbers for a linebacker. I mean, especially interceptions as a linebacker. I just remember being really impressed by those numbers. I mean, he did play a lot of games, so there's a lot of experience. I think he may have had, he only had 4 seasons. I don't know if he had a 5th season at Northwestern, but so he played a lot. But like I said, tackle machine, Xander Mueller. Hopefully we'll get some time with at least the third team, those guys, on Friday night. So if you want to look at them, watch them in the fourth quarter. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Mueller, I think, is wearing number 49, and I think Owen Carney is wearing number 53. So Red Royce, can't think of his name, but the tight end we got is a UDFA. Can we get him on the practice team? You are thinking of Jake Breeningstool, and I'm going to say no. I don't think you can, because I mean, he's back. Is he healthy is a question, but there was enough interest in Jake Breeningstool that, I mean, that was probably the most coveted undrafted free agent that the Chiefs signed. They had to pony up a pretty good signing bonus, and I think they also even guaranteed him a pretty good portion of his base salary this year. And they got in a bidding war. I'm told half the league was interested in signing Jake Breeningstool, and the Chiefs at the end finally outbid the Eagles for him. So yeah, I don't know that you can get Breeningstool onto the practice squad. I think you got to keep him. Now, what you can do is, I mean, hey, that hamstring, he doesn't, for the last couple of days, I'd say he's probably not 100%. So, hey, is it putting him on injured reserve a possibility? Yes. If that's the case, do you want to put him on IR now, shut him down for the year, and this is just a redshirt year? You can do it. I mean, if the player thinks he can play, might not be great. I mean, it can cause some problems. So would it be better, to maybe, if you want to use one of those 2 designated returns at the start of the season, if you've got one of those free that you could use on Breeningstool, could you do a little gamesmanship, as far as, get him on the injured reserve later, so you can designate him to return? I think that's your best chance. I mean, is there a crazy? No, I mean, there's still a lot of things that happen. I mean, it can obviously still happen that Breeningstool has to end up on the 53. I mean, if you got some injuries all of a sudden, I mean, you got to knock on wood there. But no, I think the chances of him clearing through waivers would be very, very low, because I think there's a lot of teams that were interested in his talent. Healthy, he's ready to play. I'm not saying he's going to be like a number 1 tight end, but could he be a number 3 tight end for half the teams in the league? Probably. So yeah, no, I don't think he would clear waivers. So I think it would be a real risk if he clears waivers and lands onto the practice squad, because that's the other part of it too. Just because he clears waivers doesn't mean he's going to come back on your practice squad. He might choose someplace else if you just waived him and he thinks there's a better spot for him. And in Kansas City right now, I mean, he's got 4 tight ends in front of him, so he may feel that it's not the best place to stay on this practice squad. So I think it'd be a real risk, Red Royce. I think it would be hard for him to clear waivers, and I'm not sure if he did, you'd be able to keep him. So that's why I think you're going to find some way get him on, get him around. And like I said, if IR is an option, maybe that's it, because like I said, I think, from the two layoffs that he's had with the hamstring, I think that's a possibility. No life. Like I mentioned earlier, hope you probably caught it. I don't think it's anything serious. I mean, the Chiefs think it's something that's going to keep him out of practice for about 10 days and be back before the Brazil practice week. So I don't have any problems there. And Chiefs fan 1587. Chance Chiefs keep four tight ends. Oh yeah, I'm on team 4 tight ends. It's going to happen. I mean, Major Chip Hazard. I've seen the Packers special teams. I think they should trade for Sky Moore too to be their kicker and punt returner. But there are teams I know that are interested in Josh Williams. So that's why I think there's a possibility. And I don't know if the Packers are one of them, but I think there's a possibility that he could be on the move. Red Royce, Chiefs get a running back on cut day. If one comes up, here's the problem. You're 31 on the waiver wire. So your only way you're getting a running back is if every team in the league passes on them. If you want a running back off waivers, you're probably going to have to trade for them. And that's why right now, Brett Veach, Mike Bradway, Chris Shea, everybody in that organization in the front office are all making calls around the league right now to find out who's available, who's on the bubble, who could be on the move. Because if you're the Chiefs, you've got to be aggressive. You're not going to be able to get players that you want for the most part on the waiver wire. There might be one that sneaks through, but if there's anybody that you want, like that is your priority, is like, hey, these are the top 3 guys that we want. If you're the Chiefs, you got to go get them, because they're not following the 31. So that's why, you get a running back, I think you're going to have to trade for him. And that can be a player-for-player trade. It can be for draft picks. Draft position can sometimes. Brett Veach is really good at that. Just saying, hey, we'll flop 3rd and 4th round picks for you for a player. Hey, waiver wire, that's sometimes enough to get a deal done, because otherwise the team's just giving away a player. So if you're talking about gaining like 30 positions in the draft, that's enough sometimes to get a player, sometimes less than that. Jimmy's, please talk about Spag's point today regarding he underestimated the hunger that other teams have when the Chiefs come to town. How about how weird their Super Bowl? How key is it for these new guys to take note? Yeah, I thought it was interesting, and I thought it was evident Friday night that there were 2 levels of commitment to that game. Not only, Seattle players taking it up a notch, and they were fired up for that game. They were executing at a high level, and they outplayed the Chiefs. Chiefs will tell you that. And defensively, for sure, that the Seattle offense outplayed the Chiefs defense. They took it to them. And yeah, you're right. It's, the Chiefs, you're going to have to remember, the Chiefs aren't going to, bring it every single game, and they're not going to bring it every single game for preseason. And the fact that the Chiefs, treated that game as a preseason game for the younger players, and a lot of whom, to your point, Jimmy's, don't know that. They don't know and haven't experienced yet. You think about all the starters that sat out in that game, especially defensively. These young guys, they have no idea what it's like when they've got the bullseye on their back. Even maybe some of them who played at high level college programs, you don't know what happens when the Chiefs come to town. It's a totally different thing. And there was a lot to that game too. Not only was, Seattle trying to win that game, they were trying to send a message, not only to the league. I think Seattle was trying to send a message to their own team that they're legit, because they feel like, hey, even beating the Chiefs doesn't matter who's playing for them. They're beat the Chiefs, they're going to feel good about themselves, and beating up on the Chiefs makes them feel even better. So I don't think there was any doubt that Seattle wanted to win that game. It was more important to them. They put everything they had into it. They game planned for that. They did a lot more game planning, because the Chiefs didn't do any game planning. And Spags even regretted that. He's like a little bit like, well, he probably should have game planned a little bit. Maybe maybe watch some film and come up with some things for them. But Seattle also did some things that they didn't even do in their first preseason game because, I mean, and to their detriment, I mean, they might have done some stuff that they're going to wish that they hadn't shown people. But Seattle's trying to win that game. So, yeah, you've got to. And then, there's another thing too, Jimmy, is that this team learned and those young guys learned about bouncing back from long road trips. Because remember, they played that game Saturday in Arizona, late game. And then, I mean, they didn't get home until like 6 o'clock Sunday morning. And then they're turning around, short week, Friday, late game in Seattle. And, it's 9 o'clock by their body time. So that wasn't good. That wasn't ideal. But all of that, I mean, that's the NFL for you. I mean, the Chiefs are going to have some of those short weeks where they're going to play, primetime games back to back, and they're going to have long flights back on the West Coast. All that stuff you got to learn, and you got to learn how your body takes it. And I know from talking to some of the guys that there were some beat up players this week because it's been the last 7-10 days of camp, and those 2 preseason games were a grind for some guys, especially the guys who played a lot in that second game, because that's the one that I think took a lot of the toll out of people. I need to go over here to bring up. My dog petter. I missed you. It was, oh my gosh, like 24 minutes ago, dude. I am so sorry, dog petter. Say, dude, you could be a dude. I apologize. Do you think that the Chiefs trade for Nick Allegretti? I doubt it. Nick's got a pretty good contract that I think would be a little bit tough for the Chiefs to absorb. And I mean, I get it. I mean, I think I know where you're going there as far as, hey, being a left tackle for you. I think they're okay with plan B and plan C, plan B or C, depending on which order it would be. If Kingsley does not work out, would be either Nick Allegretti, would be Mike Caliendo or Jalen Moore. I think they're comfortable with both those solutions. So I do not get the sense that the Chiefs are interested in trading for an offensive lineman. I mean, if I'm Washington, I'm sticking with Nick. I mean, I think he's a good player, so I wouldn't be letting him go. I have not heard if he's on the market or not, but I wouldn't be letting Nick go if I had him. So, but I think that, for cost purposes and what the Chiefs have, I think they're comfortable with what they've got. Even if Kingsley doesn't work out, I think they're comfortable with Caliendo and Jalen Moore as fallback options. So, KB, sorry, just joined, so apologize if you cover. Why put Felix on IR and not just cut him? A couple of reasons. I mean, one, cutting a player that's hurt, not great, and you're still responsible for everything. So Felix had a guaranteed contract, and when the players hurt, you can't just release them for free. They'd be responsible for all of that. They'd also be responsible for all of his medical. So there's no financial gain to cutting a player in that situation. The only way you can do it is in Felix's position, what you could do is you couldn't cut him, but you could waive him with an injury designation. Then if he clears waivers, which he absolutely would because he's hurt with a guaranteed contract, he'd still come back to you on injured reserve. So it doesn't really change any of the scenario. You ends up in the exact same spot. Now, the only way that you would then get rid of the player would be to reach an injury settlement, which again, Felix got a guaranteed contract. So he's not settling for anything less than every dollar that you owe him. So you're paying Felix Anudike-Uzomah for the next 2 years. He's getting every dollar you're paying for him. You're banking on keeping him around, that you can rehab him, see what he's got in year 4. I mean, you're not just going to give away a player that you're paying. You want to see what he can do next year. So, you get Felix, and hamstrings aren't, as bad as they are and as they can be, these season-long injuries. They're not knees, they're not ACLs, they're not patella tendons, they're not these kind of things. So, hey, your expectation is that, Felix can come back next year and be just as good as he is now, not have a sharp fall off. And maybe, hey, once again, another year of strength, another year of maybe gaining a little weight. All of those things may be good for Felix. So you're not going to just give away a player that, you already own. You've bought Felix for the next 2 years. You already have him. you're not just going to let him walk out the door and not, trying to get anything out of him. You want to see what he can do in year 4. So, I mean, there's like I said, there's also some just, you don't want to send the wrong message to other free agents and players around the league that you treat players dirty. But there's no financial upside to letting Felix go. So you're going to hold on to him. You're going to get him healthy and see what you can get out of him in year 4. But I understand the question because, hey, if you haven't been through it before, you don't know. So, hey, anybody ever has any questions about how that all works, we're here for you. So Nick and I are always going to answer those questions. Right. I'm trying to remember where I left off. Sorry, everybody. I do this. Forget what time it was. Oh, here we go. I know Nikki had said that she was all caught up. So, let's see. What's the numbers with the crown after the names? Okay, I'm not sure I know about that, Red Roy. So, are you saying? Oh, there you go. Nikki answered it for me. There you go. Oh, I had no idea who the top posters are. So that's good. It doesn't show me that. So I'd like to know who the top posters are. Maybe that must be over on YouTube. I don't see it on the live stream side. So thanks, Nikki. I appreciate that. Thank you for answering the questions. Moving on. Bobby, curious about Minihue. It sounded like the Chiefs expected a big year from him, but he was playing late into the second, struggling against backups. Has he lost a step? I haven't necessarily seen that, Bobby. I'm going to go back. Oh, there you go. I've got my little chart here pretty close and handy about where his snap counts were. I know he's playing in the second half, and that was a little bit of, and that comes into the Felix question too. About just, hey, you got to play. If you're sitting your starters, and right now Charles Minnie's not technically a starter. I mean, he's a backup, and I think they want to get him some work. He probably wants to get some work too. But hey, was he moving around a little gingerly on some questionable turf in the rain? Wouldn't surprise me. So that wouldn't bother me. And looking at his snaps, I mean, see, I thought that would drive. It could have been early in the 4th. I mean, at least looking at the snaps, and it's. I mean, I'm assuming that the next gen stats have got it all right and everything. It looks like he might have been played early in the second. Looks like the last drive was on the Seattle touchdown drive, and I thought that was still in the first half. I could be wrong, but no, I mean, I haven't seen anything, and he wasn't playing late enough into the game that I'm concerned. I mean, Gelati, Felix, Malik Herring, Nate Matlack, they were all playing after him. Karloftis and Dana were in and out in front of him. He's playing snaps exactly where I would expect. Not too many. He played 30 snaps. I mean, that's probably a decent amount. He's not probably going to play as many this week because the starters are going to get more in front of him, and the third teamers will probably get a little bit more behind him. The second team guys played a lot against Seattle, so that's where Charles kind of got caught up, I think, in just playing with the second team. And like I said, I don't think he has any issues with that. And if he was moving cautious in the rain on that turf, I'm not blaming him, but I haven't seen him losing a step. And no, the Chiefs, they're pretty optimistic that he's going to have a good year, and I haven't seen any reason at this point not to. So, on Swanson, on Jake Brady, so like I said, I think it's hard unless there's another injury or you feel like Jared Wiley is not going to be able to be available at the beginning of the season. Maybe there's a scenario where Brainingstool does. I mean, I think the Chiefs need to figure something out because, I mean, you want to be able to keep this kid one way or the other. And I just don't think it's going to be on the practice squad. I just don't think that they can get him there. So you're trying to use a little roster gamesmanship. And like I said, I mean, he can legitimately go on injured reserve at this point because I don't think he's 100% yet. And, from what I saw in practice the last couple of days, I mean, he's not to 100%. He's not a full participant. So I think there's still some decisions that the Chiefs need to make. Like I said, there might be some gamesmanship, but I think it's hard for me to make a spot for him ahead of any of the other guys because obviously Travis and Noah are making the team. Robert Tunyon, don't let go of him. He's just been too good this camp. Your only other option is Jared Wiley, and I'm not letting go on Jared Wiley either. I like what I've seen, and I think his best football is still ahead of him, and that might even be the next 2 years because coming off that ACL. And again, I mean, maybe that's a way you make room for Breeding Stool is if Jared Wiley ends up on IR. I think you'd like for ideally for both of those guys to be, if they do get on IR, that at least you can be able to bring them back at some point this year. So let's see what happens. But I think it's just a very difficult path with all the tight ends that the Chiefs have. Alex, why did the NFL feel the need to punish Rice more than what other people got caught for recently for the same, if not worse? That's the NFLPA's argument, and that's going to be, which is, and that was their argument with Deshaun Watson, and it worked to a degree. I'm with you. I mean, I think the NFL and the NFL Management Council is going to have a really hard time making the case that Rashee Rice deserves a punishment of that nature, since there are players with similar offenses that have gotten 1, 2, 3, or even 0 games for some offenses in this kind of category. So, yeah, and obviously, like I said, the sooner that they can negotiate this, the better. The Chiefs were willing to live with 6 games. Rashee might not be willing to live with 6 games, and the NFLPA might not be willing to live with 6, because that's 6 games without a paycheck, and that's precedent for the future. So that's why this is going to be a fight, unless the NFL backs down, or the NFLPA and Rashee give in on how much of a punishment that they're willing to accept. I mean, it's going to be difficult. And Russell makes a good argument, which I have heard, which in around the organization, which that we think we know everything about this case. There could be some things that the NFL has stumbled upon, whether through their own investigation or through the legal investigation, that maybe we just haven't caught on to. Maybe it hasn't been part of the public record, but there could be something that the NFL knows that the rest of us don't. And let's face it, I mean, the NFL is not a court of law. I mean, there are things that they can consider that are not part of the legal process. So maybe there's information, there's things that happen that the NFL is aware of. That's why they want to punish this, and we don't know about it. And if that's the case, the Chiefs don't know about it either, because they're kind of puzzled about why the NFL wants to hammer Rashee so badly. Man, a lot of Doc Petrie also had the question about Nick Allegretti. I've heard nothing of the nature, nothing. I mean, I haven't. If he's been made available, that could certainly be news that's just not on my radar. But no, no indication to me. I think, like I said, the Chiefs are happy with the options that they have behind Kingsley. That I don't think that's a case. And once again, I mean, my recollection with Nick's contract is that I'm not sure it'd be something that Chiefs would be able to absorb right now without moving some money around. And I don't think they're not looking for expensive solutions. Let's put it this way. Dan, does Brownlee make it as a wide receiver 7 over Remigio as Nick projected in his latest 53? I may have to borrow a page from the Nick Jacobs playbook here, because we're going to be doing our roster projections on 41 is the mic on Sunday, so we have to see where we are on this. I don't know where Nick's going to land. I don't know where he's going to be in his final roster projection. I'm puzzled about the Brownlee usage. I mean, it seems like just since he caught that touchdown, he has disappeared off the face of the earth. The conspiracy theorist in me would say that the Chiefs are like, hey, Tyquan Thornton has been more consistent. He's going to be the 6th guy. The 7th receiver has got to be a returner. Jason Brownlee's not a returner, so it's probably going to be Nick. It's going to be Nico Remigio. Almost said it was going to be Nick Jacobs as the returner. I'd love to see Nick as the returner, but I don't think. And Nick would like the paycheck. I don't know if he'd want to do it, but I would like to see that. Nico or Sky Moore. I mean, I think it'll be Nico. But are the Chiefs trying to sneak Brownlee back onto the practice squad? Maybe. Honestly, is one of the only things I can think of that makes the last couple of weeks of practice and Seattle preseason game make any sense whatsoever. So we'll see what happens with his playing time on Friday against the Bears, and if that either adds to my conspiracy theory or eliminates it. We'll see. I've done a terrible job, by the way. I know it's 8:46. I'm 40 minutes behind. I have already violated all my rules, which Nick predicted that I would. And I know you all know how it goes, and you get all your questions in early, and then I'm like flying through at the end. I just feel bad for the people that ask their questions at 7:20 and then don't get an answer for an hour. I got to do better at that, people. I apologize. And you know what? It's going to be better because, like we talked about last week, I am going to be going to the 2 1-hour Q&As each week when the season starts, and then that's where the magic's going to happen. So we're gonna have an hour pack fun twice a week. If you want twice a week, you can. If you only have time for one, maybe we're going to get some folks who are busy on Tuesdays and can watch it on another night. So I'm looking forward to it, but I will be more focused on the hour shows than I have been on the 2 hours. So I won't pontificate as much, I promise. Severio, are we sure? And I hope I got that name right. I know you've asked questions before, and I think I've even asked you how to pronounce your name, so I hope I nailed it. Are we sure Norzad isn't the best left guard on the team? I know he's the backup center, but feel like Kingsley is being handed the job for the second year in a row. Thoughts? I'm a big Hunter Norzad fan, so I'm not unabashed on that. I think a lot of Hunter. I do think he is gotten a little bit of the short shrift at guard. I think he should have been more involved in the competition. They've rotated him in at the guard position, especially with the twos. He and Mike Caliendo are kind of counterparts. Hunter's going to be the backup center, most likely. Caliendo, the backup guard, most likely. Now, Jalen Moore might factor into that guard spot, but now there's a scenario. I mean, after Kingsley, after Caliendo, and after Jalen Moore, Norzad is the next guard up. Now, is that a little low? I might think so because like I said, I think Hunter can handle the job. I think he's ready. I think he could be the backup at any one of those spots. I think he could go in at left guard. I would not be opposed to seeing that. Is he ready for it? I mean, do the Chiefs feel like that he's he's a better center now and just needs another year of doing some work at guard before maybe he could be competitive in that spot? Maybe. But I would like to see him in the conversation at some point. Certainly. And, remember, I mean, hey, Mike Caliendo, I believe this is year 4 for Caliendo. So you could be looking at a situation where next year, Hunter Norzad is Caliendo, that he's the backup at center and at guard. So I think he's certainly on that trajectory right now. I mean, you'd say he's the 8th lineman right now. He could be the 6th lineman next year. So I'm a big Hunter fan, so I certainly hope that he continues to grow and move forward. And I think he reminds me a lot of Nick Allegretti. I think he's got starting potential in this league. Let's see. Luttrell, any concern for Tranquil's health this year? I'm going to say moderate, a little bit higher than you'd probably be comfortable with, because I mean, he got dinged up a little bit, obviously, in training camp, and nothing's significant or anything like that. But it's a back injury, and back injuries always worry me at any position. It doesn't matter. I mean, I'm more worried about them in the trenches, offensive line, defensive line, but that's going to worry you. He turned 34 days ago, so it's not necessarily a magic number where 30 you all of a sudden fall off, but you do start to see guys lose a step at some point after 30, and it's going to happen. So put those two together. I have moderate concerns, and that's why, to me, keeping 6 linebackers is probably pretty smart. Not only do you have, 6 linebackers that you like, but I think you do need some depth. I mean, obviously Nick Bolton's had some injury history. Drew now has got the back that you hope he's through, but back injuries can linger. So, like I said, a little bit. I mean, I have a moderate amount of concern. I'm not red alert, not even orange yet, but yellow. Probably I'm going to go with yellow. And that's probably my level of concern. Bump is asking about, Menahue looking at 100%. I would like to see what he looks like on Friday. I'll focus on him on Friday a little bit more and see what I think. I haven't seen it. I mean, and you know, and the minute he's a veteran, I mean, he knows how to use the preseason and use training camp. Like I said, I haven't seen what I think is like looks like a significant, you know, decrease from him. And with veterans, I'm not terribly concerned about the preseason, and I'm like I said earlier, I'm going to throw Seattle out because if a veteran with a knee problem like Charles wants to take it easy on the turf in Seattle, maybe the Chiefs should have managed him better. Maybe they should have gotten him out of there. But maybe I also just want to make sure he got some snaps because he's not going to get as many on. Like I said, I probably won't get as many on Friday with the starters playing more and the third team probably playing a little bit more. The twos aren't going to get as much work. We'll see how much work he gets, but I have higher levels of concern. My levels of concern aren't for a minute who aren't that high, and he's also going to be a part-time player. I mean, he's not going to be a starter. He's going to be coming off the bench, and I think that's where he's applying himself. If he's saving some energy for the regular season, I got no problems with that. Now, if it's week one and you start to see this and we're all saying, wait a minute, Charles doesn't look 100%, looks slow, then I'm going to have some serious concerns. But Charles has said he feels, significantly better than he felt at the end of any time last year. The Chiefs have been consistent with saying he looks better than he did last year. I have not noticed anyone having concerns about him in training camp. So the preseason games for veterans, maybe he's just out there doing what he needs to do to knock off the rust and get ready for the season. I never begrudge veterans on that. And I'll say this in my best Eric Bieniemy voice. I will say this. You can tell, and I've been able to tell in the past, when some guys were starting to lose a step during OTAs or training camp. I haven't seen that in training camp or OTAs with Charles. So it may just be a preseason thing. Let's see what happens in Brazil. Let's see what happens in week 1 and week 2. And if we still have those concerns, I think they'll be alleviated, but let's keep an eye on it. Because if more than one of you are concerned about it, then it makes me wonder if I'm missing something. Luttrell, do you think Rashee's usage when available will rival what it looked like last year before the injury? Maybe at the very end of the season, Luttrell, but I think it's going to be more. He's going to play a lot. He's able to play more positions now. He's not just going to be, playing in the slot. They're going to be able to move him around a little bit. He'll probably still play a lot in the slot, but they can do a lot more things with him now. He's learned more. I think he looks better than he looked even at the beginning of last year, which is saying something coming off the knee injury that he came off of. And that would normally be a huge red flag for me. But Rashee Rice looks like he's ready to have a stupid good season. So like I said, it will rival, but I think it's going to be bigger than what you saw in those first 3 games last year. I mean, it's close because he was already a starter and dominating a little bit, but I think he's going to be even in a more expanded role than even you saw, like I said, at those 3 games last year. Technically 4, I guess, because he got hurt early in the 4th. Alicia, were the Chiefs pursuing Colin Saunders? Disappointed Chiefs didn't get him back. I didn't hear that the Chiefs were. Let me look and see. I mean, I know for the Chiefs, considering anybody, cost is an issue. Let me see what Colin's numbers would be. I mean, that could be the issue. Like I said earlier, I mean, the one part of it is that what the Chiefs are really in need of right now is a true run-stuffing defensive tackle that they can, start. I mean, essentially. He has a 3.1 base. Let's see. He's got roster bonuses. So his cap value for it looks like for Jacksonville is going to be like 3.7 3.7 million. It's even, oh my gosh, even lower than that. It's 1.3 million. I was looking at 2024. Oh yeah, that was incredibly affordable. So I'm going to go with that he was just not what the Chiefs were looking for. They want a run stuffer. They want somebody that's a more Mike Pennell type, who's a run first defensive tackle, nose tackle type. Collins more of Chris Jones type. I mean, not same player obviously, but more of that. Nick talks about the differences between one techs and three techs, and he's more of a three tech. He's more of a pass rushing specialist more than run. So, and he's 29. Probably Chiefs may have a little concerns about, this if he's the same player that he was for them a few years ago. And I was having a conversation earlier today that the Chiefs a lot of times seem to walk away from players at the right time. That they've let some guys go, and then the injuries start to affect them, or they just see diminished returns, and maybe they see that with Colin. I can't say that for sure, but like I said, I feel like a part of, if they were not interested, it was simply because they want a different kind of defensive tackle. But Alicia, yeah. Colin was great teammate on this team. A lot of fun to talk to. Love to get him back right now, considering his connections on this team. But I'm guessing that was it. I haven't had any specific conversations about whether the Chiefs were or were not interested, but that would fit with my understanding. It's just that he's not the player that they were looking for. They were looking for something just a little bit different. Brian, would you accept free tickets to see the Vikings, and would you actually go? Is there something I'm missing? I mean, the Vikings, I mean, are you inviting me to go see the Vikings? I'm probably busy is my problem. Or if it's like during the bye week, I'm not going to Minnesota to watch a football game, but is there a joke here I'm missing? I probably am. So yeah, I know my lightning round, Brian. It's been terrible. Maybe that's a joke that you're trying to send to me that I just completely and totally missed. Slam and Sammy, Worthy has the wide receiver 2 spot over Hollywood this year, right? Yeah, as far as snap counts go, I think you're right. I would say that at the end, let's go on a per game basis, because I'm going to, adjust for Rashee Rice potential suspension on a per game basis, and barring any injuries. Yeah, I would say that Rashee would play the most snaps. Worthy would be 2, Hollywood 3, Juju probably 4, and Jalen Royals and Tyquan might be close. I could see, especially because Chiefs are going to carry 7 wide receivers, and one of them is going to be a returner. Either Jalen Rose and Tyquan Thornton, and maybe Juju, but I think majority of the time, either Tyquan or Jalen might not be active on game day. You're not going to have 7 receivers on game day most times. So somebody's sitting down, and that would be my guess, that it would probably be Tyquan or Jalen. You're probably mixing and matching a little bit about what you need that week. Like I said, maybe it's Juju, because one week you need both those guys. And frankly, let's be real. We know Rashee Rice has got the suspension. Hollywood is probably not playing 17 games. Juju is probably not playing 17 games. You're gonna have some subs. So maybe that's going to work its way out okay, that most of the time that the guys who are inactive are just banged up that week. So but yes, Worthy number 2 in snaps over Hollywood. I think that is how it would land. There you go, Nikki. And I blame myself for the watch numbers this week, since I didn't put out the notification until 6:58. So, but I know a lot of you are going to catch up later. And if you're watching later, do what Nikki says and hit the like button, because that helps people find the show. So thank you. Help to find the channel. I have not yet gotten into my trying to get the 10,000 campaign, 10,000 subscriber campaign, but that's coming soon. So, because I think that'd be pretty cool. I can't believe that there's almost 10,000 people who are coming here, but I am incredibly grateful for it, because you are all awesome and you make me feel better in return. So thank you for helping to boost my self-esteem and confidence. I have very low self-esteem and confidence. So you're not turning me into an egomaniac. I promise. You're just giving me joy by following the channel here. Yeah, Nikki. Yeah, that's probably going to happen to Joe Burrow. Oh boy, is that going to happen. Neo Thomas, I have not yet had a chance to talk to Josh Simmons one-on-one yet, because they still won't let us into the locker room until the beginning of the season. But I hope to, because I would. There's a lot of things I want to talk to Josh Simmons about, and with his knee and everything. And I'm gonna, I'm gonna show him my scars from my 2 patella tendon surgeries. So I'm hoping we can at least bond on that. But right now, Josh Simmons seems like a really incredible dude. So that's why I'm really interested in getting to know him. We don't get to know the new players much this time of year. It stinks. So I'm really looking forward to getting into. I mean, as weird as the locker room experience is, I will take whatever we get. But it's, podiums. You don't get real stories at the podiums. So I can't wait to get at least back into the personal connections and talking to the players we get during the regular season. So I'm dying for that. And yes, I'm hoping Josh Simmons will open up. Will talk to me about some things, because like I said, we got some things in common, and I got some things I'd like to learn about. I think you guys would like to learn them too, hopefully. So there you go. You go quoting good songs, Brian. I'll give you that. So, need some void years added to lightning round. You all are a crack up. Yeah, that's always a positive. Well, I've already gotten past 9:00, although I did start at 7:02. So, I'm still okay. We just hit the 2-hour mark. So, okay, I am now over. Yeah, dog petter. I'm so sorry. I owe you a free super chat. So I don't know how I give you a free super chat, but I need an editor. Oh dear, what did I do? I mean, Grammarly, unfortunately, is my editor. So but Nikki, if I've done something, let me know. I probably hosed up something bad. Or you're just referring to need an editor to make my answers shorter, and that's Nick. But Nick knows that he's powerless against my voice. But like I told you, we go to an hour, it's going to be nothing but gold. I swear. Oh, Jimmy's. This is not a question. I shouldn't even brought it up, but I saw Jimmy's and I figured it was a question, and now it's just you being nice. So gosh darn it. I mean, now I feel. Well, thank you. That's very kind of you. I don't deserve that kind of praise, but thank you. Much appreciated. Pano, there we go. Question: why can't we sign players who can make a significant impact instead of these wannabe band-aids from practice squads? Well, I mean, one reason is you've got a bunch of superstars on your team that's making a lot of money. So you don't have a ton of money to spend elsewhere. So, and yes, I know the Chiefs have a little bit of salary cap space this year. They have no problem whatsoever rolling that over into next year when they're going to start having some serious salary space problems. Because remember, Patrick Mahomes has like a $75 million, 78, I think it is, salary cap hit next year. Now you're going to change that, but that's just the reality that you're dealing with. So, I mean, Hano, let me give you this possibility. I mean, I get it. You'd like to, get significant impacts, but here's an interesting one. I mean, I think Robert Tunyon's going to make a significant impact this year. I think Tyquan Thornton can make a significant impact on some games. Those are and Jason Brownlee, like I said, if my conspiracy theory is, and they're able to get him back on the practice squad and give you some wide receiver depth, those are 3 guys that were on the street last year that the Chiefs signed to their practice squads just to see, test them out, see what they got, see if they could fit in and everything. And now they look like 3 guys who can be contributors for very low cost. I mean, that's what you got to do. I mean, it's when you're paying your superstars as much as you are, and you're trying to keep your superstars, and you want to sign Trent McDuffie long term and keep him, you're not going to be able to, fix every problem with a $8 million free agent. I mean, and you did that you did that this year with Christian Fulton. You felt like your cornerback depth was significant enough that you're like, okay, we need to spend some money to bring somebody in to provide some cornerback depth. And if Christian Fulton plays well and works out, I mean, that could end up being a really key signing. Now, certain positions, hey, defensive tackle. I mean, I'll give you granted that I think that the Chiefs have made some, miscues there that, and maybe Keandre Coburn just wasn't their cup of tea, but that's kind of player that actually they could use right now, and they drafted him and let him get away. But like I said, maybe he just wasn't a good fit, and that's why they let him get away and sign off the practice squad. But it's like I said. I mean, you're with the salary cap and the financial situation you're in right now. You're not going to just go out and be able to get like $8 million solutions to some problems. You're going to have to come up with creative solutions. And now one thing, I mean, like defensive tackle is, like I said, I think one of the weakest positions on this team. One of those reasons is that the Chiefs have neglected it a bit. I mean, they drafted Omar Norman a lot this year, but they've neglected it in past seasons in the draft. And there were some years that I don't know why they neglected it. I mean, I get that maybe the draft board didn't fall the way that they wanted to, but maybe there's some times when they should have taken just some shots late in the draft on some defensive tackles that they thought had some upside, or at least just some defensive tackles that fit what they needed. That's kind of an oversight. So I mean, I'm going to grant you that I think that there are some decisions that affected them, but I mean, when it comes to just signing to fix things, and now I say that, I mean, if the Chiefs go out and if Christian Wilkins fits his foot and they go out and sign him and bring him in to be a nose tackle, we might feel completely different. Maybe that's the bandit that they need. I don't know where he's at physically, mentally. I don't know if the Chiefs are even interested, but that maybe that's a solution that you could get behind that. But like I said, it's just harder to make those significant impact signings and additions. You got to get things right in the draft, and that's one thing. I mean, defensive tackle just is not something that they've put a lot of resources in. Bumpy, I appreciate that. I appreciate the fact that you appreciate my long and winded answers. And everybody, honestly, I mean, except for Dog Petter, who I truly just hosed over by not answering his super chat. I feel terrible about that. And Buck and Bob offering to buy me a beer plus a fancy beer plus tip. Wow. I'll admit, guys, I do not drink beer, but if you've got some fancy root beer, on board. So I will gladly go get myself maybe I'll tell you what, I'll go. Here's what I would do, and this tells you all about me and my body. I would go to Culver's and get a root beer along with a chocolate concrete with peanut butter cups. So boom, done. Thanks, guys. Appreciate the super chat. You're much too kind. And you guys are you all put up with my nonsense, so I appreciate that. Because I never see anybody complaining about me taking forever, like I said, except for Dog Petter, who had a legitimate complaint because he paid for the super chat and I completely hosed him. So I apologize. Let's see. Once again, go to the super chat page and come back, and I forgot where I was. I do need to. Actually, you know what, Brian? I have experimented with doing that, and it might make a debut one day. I'm not lying. It would probably be a 30-second clock, but it may come about one day. I'm not lying. It may exist. Let's see. Yeah, Ron. I mean, I talked about this earlier, so I'll just touch on it quickly. Yes, I mean, I think Wiley and Pupless, no, because that's not going to be available at this point. Injured reserve is a possibility. Breeding stool on injured reserve is a possibility. I think the Chiefs would love to be able to keep control of all 5 of those tight ends somehow, one way or another. It's just going to be tricky, and and the fact that Breeding stool and Wiley, like I said, I don't believe 100% there yet, makes it a little bit easier. So Neo Thomas, so does the 3rd round running back make the roster? Brashard Smith, my roster, absolutely. My 3 running backs absolutely making this roster are Isaiah Pacheco, Kareem Hunt, and Brashard Smith. And I'm just saying, if any of you went to training camp, you can probably back me up on this. But Brashard Smith is one player in particular that the Chiefs are absolutely hiding during the preseason, because they have not done anything in the preseason like they did in training camp. They're going to throw this kid the football. And I'm just telling you right now, I mean, another one of my hot takes, this will be in my hot take central story, about my hot takes for the season. I've given you 2 of them for free now here on the Q&A. at some point this season, the Chiefs are going to split out wide. Rashee Smith, move out of the backfield, split him out wide. He's going to end up on a linebacker, some dude with a 5 in front of his number, and he's going to go for an 80-yard plus touchdown. It's just going to happen. You could see a little bit. He's starting to figure out running back too. And he made a move in that Seattle game, that spin move, and then the cut back to the right. The last Chiefs running back that I saw that could possibly do that might have been 2017-18 Kareem. If you wanted to argue with me that the last Chiefs running back who could do that was a healthy Jamal Charles, I would not argue with you. And I mean, and this will probably be also part of my hot take central prediction on Rashee Smith. I mean, that dude could go for like 40 catches for 500 yards and maybe like 24 carries for 125. I mean, he may not get many touches in the backfield, but they're going to throw him the football. They're going to find some ways to get in the ball. And maybe I'm overstating his, receiving value and everything because, hey, all young players, it takes some time. So maybe in the first half of the season, he doesn't get many chances. And we're all wondering in week 8, what's the deal with Rashee Smith? I thought hey, Matt, I thought you told me this guy was going to be good. And then all of a sudden you're going to think he's like the second coming of Jerick McKinnon. I mean, I think he's going to be productive for this team and do some really good work. So let's see here. Oh, Mitchell, terrible run defense, below average run game, bad left guard play, leading to inconsistent offense. What team in KC does this describe? Well, I mean, are there other football teams in Kansas City? I mean, I hope it's not describing my Missouri Tigers, but I mean, the last time I could describe a Chiefs team fitting this, man. I mean, are you talking about last year? Because I didn't think the run defense was that bad, but I mean, and if that's the comparison, Mitchell, you're saying it's a lot like last year. I mean, they did go to a Super Bowl last year. I know it got blown out. Bad day to have a bad day and all. I really think this team's going to be better. Yeah, the Seattle game, run game. I mean, you remember. I mean, you had a lot of starters sitting out, rain. Chiefs weren't trying, and no excuses. I mean, Chiefs aren't going to make any excuses. And they got blown. They got just blown off the ball. There's no doubt about that. I just think this team's going to be better this year. I mean, I may be out on an island, but I just think that they're going to be better. So, let's see. Ron Stur, do you anticipate Nico Remigio getting to run with the twos with Jalen Royals unlikely to play against the Bears? Honestly, I mean, Ron Stur, I expect Nico and Sky to both get reps with the ones Friday night. I mean, probably with the twos as well. I mean, they may both get extended playing time in the first half. Maybe here will be the key for me, that if you want to watch about which one of these guys makes the 53 and doesn't, it's a little, I think they're both going to play in the first half. And it's not about even special teams. Nico might not even return a punt. I mean, I'm guessing he might get like the first try. Sky might get the second try. And this is really, I'm really talking with Jalen Rose being out, even talking about this being Nico versus Sky. What's really going to tell you to me is if whomever plays in the first half and plays with the ones, but doesn't play in the second half of all. If Nico gets some reps with the ones and doesn't play after halftime, and Sky Moore is getting reps in the second half, Nico's making this team and Sky's probably not. Now there could be some players that get some extended, playing time that you're either just trying to really evaluate, or you want to put it on film so you can maybe shop those guys around over the weekend. Ronster asked your second follow-up question there, asking about 3 specific players on the. I mean, unless Jason Brownlee goes out and plays like 50 snaps on Friday, and looks like they're showcasing him. I'm assuming that the Chiefs are trying to hide him onto the practice squad. Magdalena, absolutely, I would put on the practice squad. He's a little dude, but I really like him. I cannot figure out Elijah Badger at all. Either Elijah Badger is either the Chiefs feel like an absolutely fantastic diamond in the rough receiver that they just have an incredible plan for, and therefore are trying to hide him completely off the waiver wire and sneak him to the practice squad, or they just have given up because I mean, and I'm leaning it more towards the second because he's had a lot of inconsistencies, and I worry there's a little bit of a Justin Ross comparison with Elijah Badger. I think that's a good thing. It's not. So that would be my concern. I don't know about Elijah Badger. Like I said, I can't. I'm getting just absolutely schizophrenic type images of what the Chiefs think about Elijah Badger because he has just been hidden at some point. I mean, I believe didn't even play in the game the other night and was not hurt to my understanding. And so that's either you're just trying to make sure that no team can see any of his body of work and sneak him onto the practice squad, or you've seen enough and you don't need to see any more. I don't know what it is. So yeah, there you go. Shorten the answers. I'm working on you. Yes. Hey, Bob, it was great to meet you at camp. I appreciate that. And Nick is always super cool. I don't know how people don't realize this. Nick is always the best. So, and anybody who meets him will know that Nick is the best. Oh, Joe, will Patrick Mahomes retire as a Chief? Yes, he will retire as a Chief. I mean, no, you're never going. Yeah, I mean, hopefully you're never getting sideways with Patrick Mahomes. I mean, as long as he can play, I mean, you're keeping Patrick Mahomes. I mean, let's face it. I mean, they're grooming Patrick probably to buy part of the franchise one day and, be part of the Hunt family. Certainly he's got to have the money for it at some point. I mean, Patrick Mahomes is, you don't want to happen with Patrick Mahomes what's happened with Peyton Manning. I mean, you want Patrick Mahomes being a part of your organization for the rest of his life. So I don't see, even with his cap, and there's the other part of it too, I'm not 100% sure that, Patrick plays long enough to get into Peyton Manning, Tom Brady mode. I mean, I think, Patrick, I mean, I'm not even sure he's that driven by the whole Tom Brady thing. I mean, I'm not certain that, I mean, if Patrick is 39 and he has 6 Super Bowls, I mean, do I think he's going to play until he's 45 trying to win number 7? Probably not. I mean, he's wired a little, as competitive as he is, he's wired differently. And and he's also, I mean, such one of the down to earth people that, I mean, I take him at his word that, that he's going to want to watch his kids grow up. And, he's going to want to, be there when they're, in high school and everything like that. So I just don't think that he's going to be a guy that, plays into his 40s and then, the kids are all of a sudden in high school and, I mean, good grief, if he played into his 40s, Sterling would be like in college by then. I don't think he wants that. So I think Patrick plays for the Chiefs his entire career. I'm sure that at some point they're going to have to do some Tom Brady TB12 wink, because I'm convinced. I don't know if anybody ever went to a New England Patriots game in Foxborough during the end of the Tom Brady era, but you would go there and, and there's that shopping mall attached to it and everything. And there was even like just kiosks on the street that were selling TB12 shirts. I have no doubt that Robert Kraft, through some subsidiaries, probably about $10 million worth of TB12 merchandise a year. I mean, it's a conspiracy theory. I fully admit it. So I'm not stating this as a fact. It's just a conspiracy theory. And I'm not saying the Hunt family would do that, but no, I mean, I've already gone on too long with this answer. It was a good question, Joe, because I absolutely believe that Patrick is spending the rest of his career with the Chiefs. Now, Nikki, are you in Hannibal? if you've told us that before, I did not know that. But and homemade root beer is the best. I have tried to make my own root beer. I have not done a very good job with it because it ends up tasting too yeasty, and that's one of the reasons why I don't like typical beers, because all I can taste out of beer is the yeast. So it's got to be a little, it's I can't be too yeasty, and so root beer. I've had some making your own root beers. It ends up a little too yeasty, and mine were really too yeasty. It's been a while since I've tried um, to do that, but I need to do it again sometime. And maybe if I'm ever in Hannibal, I will go there. So make sure I know where that is, Nikki. Joe, has hamstring ever ended NFL players' full season? Yeah. And I think it was mentioned this. I don't know if it was earlier or one of my other interviews today. That was Tuesday's interview day. So I've done like 3 or 4 of these already. But Byron Pringle was on injured reserve his entire rookie year from a hamstring injury. And the strain is probably, I don't know if the strain is an accurate term. It could be a tear that Andy has told us is a strain that's happened before. I will say that, if you saw Felix go down, that is not what a typical hamstring. Usually a guy like in training camp or anything like that gets a hamstring strain. They just kind of grab their hamstring and went off the field. But that was exactly what happened to Byron Pringle. If you remember his, if you've got a hamstring injury and you've got trainers that are having to help you walk off the field on both sides of you, that's not like a just grade 1 or 2 hamstring strain. It might not even be a strain at all. It may be a tear. So it would not surprise me if it was just a more serious injury than it's been described to us by Andy, because you could tell that was a bad hamstring. But yes, hamstring, and oddly enough, according to this survey that I read a couple of weeks ago about NFL injuries, hamstrings are like the number 1 longest injury that causes players to miss the most games. It's like 12 games on average for a grade 3 hamstring strain. So yeah, it's not uncommon. And there's and there've been, I know there's been other players other than Byron Pringle that the Chiefs have put on injured reserve for the season-ending injuries because of hamstrings before, or at least significantly 10 or more weeks. So no, it's not uncommon, but it's a severe injury if it does happen. Is Mark Twain Dinette the one in Hannibal? Because I was starting to have flashbacks to the Mark Twain Dining Hall in Columbia, Missouri, after living in Mark Twain Hall. So don't know, Harold. Just throwing that in there. It's 9:24, so I should probably wrap this up. But I am going to get through all the questions that have question marks. So if I miss something, I probably didn't see that it was a question. So we are definitely looking for question marks. Luttrell, speaking of Mizzou, did you see Ryan Poles have some Luther praise? Yeah, I saw that. Was that Greg Olson who shared that on the broadcast? And then it wasn't really entirely clear whether he was supposed to share that on the broadcast. Maybe it was something that Ryan Poles said during the broadcast meetings that wasn't supposed to be shared. I don't know if it was or not. But yeah, I know there's been some bad Luther stories, unfortunately. Luther Burden stories out of Chicago during training camp. But I hope he's a hit. I want to watch him play. I hope he plays a little bit on Friday night. I'm assuming he will. But looking forward to that. So and Luther was fun to watch. And I got to watch a couple of his games at Mizzou in person, and he was electric. There you go. It is the Mark Twain Diner. Well, we never had homemade root beer at the Mark Twain Dining Hall, but we did have very good deviled eggs. And I beat my friend Bill one night, 24-23, in a deviled egg eating contest. So last call. I think we're there. I think we got through everything. If I missed your question, I apologize. And Dog Petter, definitely apologize for missing your super chat earlier. And that was much too kind of you. And I completely hosed you. There's no doubt about it. As always, if you have any other questions during the week, feel free to hit us up on Chiefs Digest. Nick will tune in from time to time and check in on the questions. I do a poor job of coming in on the questions, but I'm going to be doing a better job. I promise. I keep telling you all that, and then I get, caught up in other things. And, but you know what? Going to have a set schedule. So we're going to be doing things differently during the regular season. Gonna have some new approaches there. So hopefully I'll take care of you all. But hey, everybody, thanks for a great night. Thanks for staying so late. For those of you who made it through, anybody who's watching on the rebroadcast, appreciate you. Thanks for sticking in there. Thanks to all of the super chats. So KB and Nikki, brother Rick, you both had great questions. Dog Petter, great question that I just absolutely hosed you on. I feel so bad. KB, Buck, and Bob, appreciate it all tonight. So thank you for all the kind words as well. You are all the best. I have the best viewers on YouTube. I will absolutely stake my life on that. Rest of the week, we are working on a new feature. Nick is helping me trying to put together. We'll see if it debuts tomorrow. We shot a pilot for it yesterday. And I say we, I mean, I did. And it was terrible. So we retooled it based on feedback from Nick. Couldn't shoot episode 2 today because things were just too busy with all of the radio and podcasts. I was on Locked On Chiefs just before tonight's show. I was actually talking to Ryan and Chris till about 4 minutes before tonight's live stream. So and on days that I do a Q&A, I may not do this, but what it is going to be Chiefs Digest Daily. So I'm going to be doing some short videos, probably about 3 minutes, however long YouTube Shorts will let me do it. To just give you the highlights of what's going on, what's the news of the day in Chiefs Kingdom. And maybe I can do it on Q&A days too. I might just do it where I just do the first 3 minutes as the short and on the Q&A and just do the quick news of the day. Give you not just updates, but the best quotes from whether it's the locker room, podiums, whatever it may be, best quotes of the day, biggest news of the day, share that with you. I'm going to plan on trying to debut that tomorrow. If it doesn't, you know me, I say lots of things, but hopefully we'll be able to do that. And that's going to be a regular feature during the season. So I think other than that, that's all we got to share. So yeah, we're going to try and do some, we're going to do some short videos. I know that sounds like impossibility. And here's a funny thing. We shot the pilot. I produced a pilot. Nick wanted it to be about 3 minutes. I wanted it to be around 8, and I did it for like 5.5, and it was a bad 5.5 minutes. It was boring. So trying to liven it up a little bit. Nick's suggestions. So yes, tomorrow timing should be great. Don't know when it'll be out, but it'll be after practice. So hopefully, if my editing skills are enough, we'll be able to get you some videos from the day. We'll see how it works. And if it turns into just a short video feature or turns into something more, we'll see what happens. But got that coming up. We're going to be going to the 2 Q&As during the week, during week 1. So probably still planning on doing that despite the Friday night game. So we do, and that will probably work out pretty well because normally I do a live show on cut down day. That is probably not going to be possible this year, just because I've got some radio commitments now that I didn't have before. So I'll be on 8:10 at 3:00 with Soren Petro right at the cut deadline. So we're going to be doing cuts live on Sports Radio 810, which you can obviously listen to on the Sports Radio 810 app or on the radio here in the Kansas City area, where we'll be talking about the roster, the 53-man roster as it comes out on Tuesday. But then there'll be the Q&A that night. And any questions that you have, we'll be able to crack those open. But that will be a full 2 hour. We'll do a full 2 hour Q&A next week, or however long it takes me to answer all the questions. We'll do it all. Won't be until week 1 that we'll start doing the 1 hours. And I'm really looking forward to that because I think me with brevity is much better than me long-winded. So we'll see how it works. Everybody have a great week. We will see you, Nick and I, Probably we are still working on our schedules, but it should be on Saturday for the 41 is the mic, breaking down what happened on Friday night. We're going to be talking about our roster projections this weekend too, so you'll have that to look forward to. And then next Tuesday, busy day, since we'll have roster cut down. We'll have the Q&A that night to talk about everything and break it all down and go on from there. So looking forward to next week. It's going to be a busy week, but hopefully we all have fun. Thanks for sticking through this long show tonight. Thanks, everybody. Have a great week.